as a person that has been in Vosh's community for a long time, I really wouldn't agree that he's ever really been that well liked or well celebrated. I mean, this has
Really?
been not. I mean, yeah, like this has been like these accusations have floated around and existed for a long time. Back in 2019, it really inhibited his growth and his popularity with the stuff with Poppy. Now, I have issues with Poppy as an individual that I think are not generally common among people that
God,
talk
who
about
cares,
their
dude? Okay, now we're speeding it back up.
experiences of sexual abuse. But besides that, I just want to know, how do you know that he's got all of this stuff on his hard drive based on that
Mr.
folder?
Kafari, no idea.
I'm not saying that's
I'm
like
saying
necessarily a ridiculous thing to suspect, but like we don't actually have proof of that. And I also am just curious, why has there been no other instance of him engaging in sexual harassment, like verifiable?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why she's making a statement on the tendency on the correlation when it's not. It's just you shouldn't disqualify someone from an analysis of being a sexual predator just because they're charismatic and charming and well liked. That's the argument.
Sexual harassment besides the case
Once
with
isn't
Poppy
enough?
wouldn't you see an established pattern? Like, I'm not saying that it was the right thing to do. I think that
No, she's not. She is explicitly multiple times now. She has stated that being charming is an indicator of being a predator. She's saying that she's restated that in various different ways that you are more likely that is someone to suspect.
it was really dumb. However, like, this is back in 2018, like 2018.
Well, yeah, I agree. That's what I've been saying.
You know,
I think
like,
that's wrong.
people in their early 20s do really stupid shit. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that there are other factors there, like impulse control, for example.
Really stupid things like posting after she doesn't want to have any sexual engagement on the Discord. Poppy knows my deep dish prolapse dicking bloodline technique would leave her screaming like a chimpanzee. Leans on me every time we're together.
That's
You think
horrible.
Didn't it come out that he did this to like 3 different girls? It wasn't just Poppy. It was more than just one. Like in the original logs, there were like 3 girls that he did this to.
I've yet to see evidence of that.
I can pull up the logs.
Well, respond, if you would, Kaldosh, to the accusation, for lack of a better term.
Well, when I say like evidence, like logs in the same degree as Poppy's, like
yeah, in the video where he goes over, like Destiny goes over all of it in a video, and there were like 3 girls that he brings up that he had issues with. The other one was a girl that was like, his defense was like, oh well, she was religiously sheltered and like scared of her sexuality, but if I asked her enough to send me pictures of her tits, she would feel better about herself. That was pretty much it. You can watch the video's like 45 minutes long, and he goes over all of it.
Well, and I guess my thing with this is, well, I agree that all that stuff was terrible and that he shouldn't have done it. I would think, though, that there would be more of a pattern here, or that he would attempt to engage with fans inappropriately. Like, for example, you bring up Mr. Girl. I don't think his content is comparable to Mr. Girl's content at all. Like,
you think that just like maybe he just got fucking caught and nuked for it, and then he stopped messaging girls on Discord like that, but maybe he transitioned to like a different platform or a different area where he does the same fucking thing? Like that he learned his lesson and he didn't do it in Discords anymore, and especially not other people's Discords?
I mean, there's no way for us to know for sure. Like, we're...
So, this is the argument, really? Is that Vosh just, after he got caught the first time, instead of stopping, and the fact that, you know, a lot of these behaviors are probably born from being poorly socialized and having a lack of intimate connections, and that as his life got more on track, more successful, and he became more well adjusted, he was able to have healthier relationships with the people around him. Not just that, but that actually and that's why there's no allegations that have come out about him since. But actually, there probably are allegations. He's just really good at hiding it now. He's actually done loads of really bad stuff. It's just really hidden now. He's just gotten better at it. Why would we assume that? Why would we assume that? That doesn't make sense. That's not the reasonable assumption here.
We're just speculating here, right? At the same time, though, I think that...
It's like just... I agree that Vosh has not adequately answered for the Poppy shit. That he... You know, even past that stuff happening, still, you know, obviously blew up on her, was saying crazy shit. You know, hasn't really addressed it properly, and he did crazy shit back then. I don't even disagree with that. But this idea that like there's any reason to suspect he hasn't changed, and this lack of ability to accept the idea that he maybe has, it just feels like, aren't you guys like lefties? Aren't you guys like liberals? Don't you want to give people a chance to change on this stuff? Hey.
there's enough people that are
if someone does something like this, like the best part of a decade ago, I think it was now, right? Was it like 5 or 6 years ago? If someone does something like this, like ages ago, do you not think maybe, like at the end of the day, well, it was kind of fucked. It was like it's Discord sexual harassment. Come on now. I think we can probably forgive this. I think we can probably move past this at some point, right? He should answer for it properly. But the idea that you're going to be like, oh, there's no way he's changed. There's no way he's changed. Come on, dude. It's not like that fucking crazy.
very much like out to get Vosh booted from this space, and I think that it wouldn't exactly be difficult for them to find other people trying to speak out. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not saying that, that's not a possibility. However, I would think that over these past, I don't know, it's been like 5 years, we'd see more than this.
How many do you think, if it were true, just out of curiosity, what would be the number of times? It's more than 3. Apparently. One a year, one a month, one
I don't want to give it an exact number. I would just want to see a pattern that would extend longer than just one giant drama incident, basically. And I think that
one giant drama incident, dude. The man harassed this woman for years. This is not one giant drama.
Timmy Bullgame. Destiny has he may be more of a Kuihman now in terms of the amount of women he sleeps with, but his actions have always been pretty consistent, I think. But I mean, he's never been like, was he ever called out for stuff back then? Did he ever do anything with those? I mean, to be fair, no, actually, he has changed. Destiny has gotten better. Because you got to think, right? Destiny back in the day was StarCraft 2 days Destiny, okay? First bit of success. The first internet attention. The first recorded relationships we really have of Destiny. What was going on? Well, he had the Skype logs where he's talking about getting sent bikini photos by a 15-year-old e-girl and how hard it was for him to say no. We've got Destiny sharing around I'm not entirely 100% on this. I believe sharing around some girl's nudes and calling her ugly in a Skype group, leading to his accounts getting hacked by her and his dick pics getting released. We've got... What else? Wasn't there some girl that, like, he went to a shooting range with when she was below the age of consent? And then later on, he made comments about how, like, a couple of years later, when she was above age of consent, he made comments being like, oh, when we were at that shooting range, her ass was shaking. It was so fat. Without realizing in the moment that that was pre-turning age of consent. I feel like the stuff back then was a bit more wild. He's definitely still a freak. It has dramatic relationships where he spurgs out. But it's not in the same... he's not exposing people's, like, nudes or talking about fucking people he can't... I mean, actually, no, maybe he hasn't gotten better. Maybe he hasn't really improved. Maybe he hasn't really improved. Because, I mean, he's still... I mean... No, Lav leaked stuff first. Lav was telling Big Tech about him eating her out. No, I'm not sure. Maybe... I'm 50-50. I can't decide. I really can't decide.
Incident.
Well, and also, if people are just, like, out to get him and out to cancel him, like, is it not possible that the things that he's doing are worth, like, canceling? Like, if there is, like, a big righteous crusade to, like, fucking deplatform Bosch, like, does that just exonerate him from everything bad that he does? Like, oh, it's fine that he had, like, Molly in his folder. People are just after him.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he's not, like, the comparison, for example, that Fair used, like, with the pastor. Like, he's not in the same position as, like, a pastor or somebody that would be widely...
Okay, no, that's
Hold
not
on,
true.
let Keldosh stop. You gotta let Keldosh finish, and then you can respond to him, I promise.
Somebody that would widely be considered, like, a safe person, or, like, somebody that is, a community leader in the sense of a community leader for for all ages, right?
But the point is, okay, so Destiny, you can say Destiny hasn't changed that much because you can still point to behaviors he's doing now. But Vosh, what can you point to? What has Vosh done that's still just as bad. Like, he still looks at the porn, sure, but in terms of his interactions with people, there's nothing you can point to. There's nothing else you can point to. I mean, he seems to have broken up with that hyena woman, and nothing bad came out of that, even though she was a lunatic. He's had this little femboy rent boy hanging around for a long time. Also, Stylo, I don't know if you're listening, but we should start up an async game, okay?
Right, like, I don't, Vosh doesn't
I see you.
advertise himself. Does it
doesn't.
matter? I mean, I would say that it does. Like, if you are harassing people and you also advertise yourself for all ages, that's going to attract an audience that contains children. If you don't, encourage minors to be in your audience, and if you create content that's primarily aimed at adults, and you're not creating content for kids, then...
Does that really matter if you're an abusive person or not, if you do it in the presence of children or not, depending if they're in your audience?
I would say that it would be...
Oh, my head.
I think that in order to make the claim that he's specifically predating children, then yeah, that does matter.
Not even in the sense of predating children, just that he has like sussy-wussy shit on his computer, or that he sexually harassed women in the past. Like, because he doesn't have children in his audience, it's just whatever.
I'm not saying it's just whatever. I'm saying that I would expect to see that if he was predating on children.
After he already got caught harassing a girl in a Discord server that wasn't his, he would be stupid enough to cultivate an audience of children and predate on them after he
Send me
already
a
got
join
busted
code.
There
for
are
it.
other YouTubers that have done that and have, essentially gotten away with it. Look at like Onision, look at Shane
But he
Dawson.
didn't get away with it. He got caught. So why would he do it again?
Well, they have been caught at various times as well.
And they don't do it on the same platforms anymore. Onision has been nuked into the sun. He doesn't have access to any of the platforms where he could groom people. And I'm not even saying that Vosh is like a groomer, evil pedophile. I'm challenging this question where you're like, oh, well, he doesn't have kids in his audience. He's not grooming the kids. So who gives a fuck if he whacks it to Lolly? Like, who gives a fuck if he sexually abused women? He doesn't have children in his audience. Like, why does that matter? Like, can we still not criticize these behaviors, even if children aren't exposed to them, which we all know that they are? Like, all there is one button where it's...
You can criticize it. If you've got criticisms of it, criticize it. But the point is that he shouldn't be cast into the fucking sun. That's the point, right? Is that he doesn't have an audience of kids. He's not predating on kids. So you can criticize his interests or his proclivities. But if you don't have any evidence or reason to believe he's predating on kids, then I don't see why he should be cast into the sun and not allowed a career. Because there's no harm, there's no imminent harm. There's no reason to believe there's going to be a harm.
It says, are you 18 before you view this channel? And you just say, yes, you don't need to upload an ID.
Yeah, but I'm sure everyone has kids in their audience. Like, if I go to my analytics, I can see there is. So I've got 0% 13 to 17 years. It was 0.11 recently because of the commentary stuff, I guess. But 0 right now. But then 14.3% 18 to 24. And I'm guessing some of those are going to be people with fake ages. There's probably, let's say 5% that's people with fake ages. That's still tiny. That's still only 5%. And political content and this drama stuff, it's always going to be like that. I mean, commentaries skews a bit younger. That's a little bit different. Don't do it, Kuihman. You can't have plausible deniability if you look. I don't need plausible. Listen, I do not want kids. If you're a kid, fuck off. Turn the stream off, ninja. Go talk to your parents. Tell them what you've been watching. See what they think of it. Tell them the last hour of content I've done. Say, this is what I've been watching. Oldest watcher. I've got 0% 65 plus, 0.1 55 to 64. You're not 16, Max. You're not 16. You're not 16. Stop lying. I know you're not 16.
There are kids that wander into that content.
I want you to point out where I said you couldn't criticize him, because I've said that I've criticized him for it.
You just brought up the idea that because there aren't kids in the audience, it isn't a big deal.
Finish, though. Okay, so finish your point. But then
the thing is, though, is that I'm specifically talking about him being a genuine risk to children. I'm not using.
We're not saying. No. We're not talking about him being a risk. Okay, fair enough. There might not be children in his audience. He's still a risk to his audience. He's still a risk to these communities. He's still a risk to other people who are here.
How?
Regardless
He's
of whether
normalizing that consuming
How? I don't get it. How? Where's the risk?
Lolicon is fine. Like, even if it is an audience of adults, and you're like, no, guys, actually, like, bestiality porn and Lolicon and, like, CP is fucking base, like, that is obviously harmful to the people that are being, like, told that consuming this kind of material is okay.
$2 from Cryborn to say, Keldoge in a cult right now. Thank you for the $2.
In a cult right now, okay.
But I wanted to pass the mic to Fairy Queen a little bit, and I want to ask you, specifically, Fairy Queen, you say he's a risk. Can you elaborate? And risk in what way? Like when we talked, right? When you came on my stream with me and Brianna Wu, you said that I needed to content roll him because him having access to my Discord presented a danger to my community. And I would just like you to elaborate on what?
Gay
So,
groomer.
the danger is
Homo predator.
I just wanted to say something quick to the person that said that. I would love you to find a cult where you can, have screaming matches with the cult leader and not get kicked out.
Okay. Thanks for that. Anyway, so as far as like content rolling him, that has okay. I understand. It's about limiting. First of all, limiting access for him having access to the rest of the community. Now, you said while we were talking about this that he's never left a message. He's never called in. I've only had him on a show maybe once or twice. I don't know how many times you've had him on. So really, like, what's the danger of? He's not really in the community. He's just kind of in the Discord, right? And fair enough, right? But the problem is that when you don't content roll him, right? It's about setting a precedent for when somebody does this kind of behavior that we have a response to it, that there is a consequence to it, and it sends a message to anyone else who wants to follow Vosh, who is caught having this type of material on their computer, normalizing this for other people, or who has a history of sexual harassment, that regardless of how many followers that person has, how much money that person has, that person is not going to have access. And we don't care, we don't care who you're associated with. We don't care how popular you are. This is what happens to you. It's about setting a precedent for everyone else.
Different
So
from them being a danger.
again, her point is to just completely blacklist all these people. No, fuck off. This is why you're a 2-viewer nobody. Where is the evidence these people are a risk to any of us? Look, you will never have any say over this. Fuck off. Just fuck off. Bully, you can bully the people. You can talk shit on them. You're never gonna be able to get people to stop engaging with them if they don't want to. I would have the resurrected corpse of Jimmy Savile on my stream, if it were possible. That'd be fucking amazing.
That's setting a.
He's a potential danger, but what I'm saying is how dangerous he is isn't really the point. It's about setting a precedent for when we see somebody who has a history of risky behavior, and this is how we are going to respond to it, unless we have any other justifiable reason to believe otherwise. That's the point.
But the reason
I think that you could argue really clearly though that
because I pushed on Keldosh, and I want to push on you on this. Right?
Okay.
I'm trying to be equal here as much as I can. The risk,
the
reason that someone's a risk, and the risk of doing nothing, as you've argued and laid out, is at least hangs on the premise that if we do nothing, they will cause harm, that they will be in actual danger. So the question of what danger does having him in my Discord pose isn't something we can just hand wave away. You'd need to kind of explain to me what that danger is. Otherwise, if there is no danger, then why would I take any action?
So I think that what Malcolm said earlier, which is that it's likely that Vosh, if he is continuing this behavior, it's probably on a separate platform because he's probably not stupid enough to nuke his career in these public servers, is probably true. But if there's a danger, the danger is that he could potentially target members in the community. He could potentially target women in the community. He might not actually ever join a VC, but he could message people who are in the site. He could see who is a part of the community. He could try to message them. That's a potential danger. There's a risk of him being able simply to have access to our conversations in these.
No. To be fair, I will say I think that if someone has been, I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that if someone has actually predated on kids, you probably don't introduce them into your audience as just oh, look, here's a friendly Jimmy Savile guy. Obviously, that's retarded. Obviously, that's retarded. I'm just being financially there. Don't take that as a serious point. It's a rhetorical flair, okay? Okay, we advertise a pretty cool sweatshirt. Where can I find one? Shill time. We're not. I won't shill the hoodie right now, okay? Because guys, there are hoodies on my channel if you want to go to the store page on my channel. I'm not going to shell it too hard right now, though, because we're very close to having a new logo. Probably within the next week, there will be a new logo, I think. So we're not shelling too hard right now.
These logs anyway, and being able to use them in order to help to justify his own arguments. Now, the point of whether or not it's likely or not isn't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to have a precedent for how we treat people who have this history, and it needs to be consistent. It can't just be. It has to be based off of behavior. It can't be based off of professional relationships or popularity or subscriber.
Yeah, it's limited.
It has to be based.
Okay.
Wash needs to be treated the same, even worse.
The logo won't be crazy different, so we're going to be sticking with the similar thing, but this is a preset thing that can be used by anyone, and I just want something that's unique to my channel, obviously, that I actually own.
Probably in comparison to food shops, or as an example. I know that we didn't want to bring up food shops, but I just bring her up as an example.
Food shops is very proud. Well, I shouldn't say proud, but she openly talks about being a pedophile, though. I don't think that's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, if you go onto the Teespring, there'll be actual colors you can select.
It lies about it. That's the difference, okay? The difference is that Food Shops has no filter, will tell you almost every single thing that is on her mind, whereas Vosh has years and years of history saying that it's justifiable to lie or to twist evidence in order to be rhetorically persuasive, in order to achieve your political ends. He has a track record history of saying these things. I don't know why anybody would believe much of anything that he has to say. It's part of the reason why I'm kind of frustrated about this conversation about him apologizing. What on earth would that accomplish? What do you think that's going to do? Do you think he's going to go to his folder and drag it and toss it in the trash right after he says sorry? That's not going to happen. He's going to keep on doing this, and he's going to hide it and try to be way more secretive about it after this. That's what I think is going to happen.
Well, is it based on behavior or because he's a bigger content creator? I don't think you can have it both ways.
It is based off of behavior, and what I'm saying is his status as a content creator should not have any impact on the way that we treat somebody who behaves this way.
Well, and again, something that is important as well in the context of this is like the normalization.
Well, I agree with that point, that whether someone's big or not shouldn't change how you treat them. But I don't think they should be. I disagree with her prescription for how you should treat them.
Of it, like, to his audience. Like, I would say pretty easily post Fortress arc, like, you can clearly see that, like, there are a lot of people that genuinely are confused about, like, what the issue is about having a massive goon folder about, like, horse rape and shit like that. Like, it normalizes the consumption of this kind of material to people that are insulated in your audience to the point where if somebody outside is like, dude, you're yoinking it to, like, you know, a drawn picture of, like, a kid, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And they're like, well, what do you mean? It's just drawn. It doesn't mean anything. Like, who cares? Like, the harm also presents itself in normalizing this to people that otherwise, like, wouldn't behave this way.
So
I
do you
want
think... Oh,
No,
go
give
ahead.
Joe's
Go
go.
ahead. Go ahead.
I want no. Hold on. I want to give you a chance to respond to that, Eldar. I want to, and Joe, if Joe has a response, I don't know if he does.
I've mostly just been bored because you keep shouting about this Vosh guy, and I was hoping it would go
Okay, do
somewhere
you
else
wanna
besides just Vosh.
Sure.
Well, you did say lolly panel. I thought that would be
Okay,
more of a
what do you
focus,
want to
not
say
so
in
much
defense of
Vosh.
lolly in general? Go ahead.
What I wanted to bring up first of all is well, actually, I can go through quite a few things, but it's a complicated area because there's a lot of whataboutisms. But to start off with, when I bring up pornography, I just want to point out how massive the market for girls who look like they could be 14 is. It's huge. The porn industry itself, even in the States, there is stuff like I assume, I don't know if you're familiar with like facial abuse and sites like that. They are literally, I would call it paid rape to a degree, because what they are doing is they're getting models who maybe do
So
like
you
a
think
single.
that's bad, to be clear? You think that's a negative?
Yes.
Okay, so why
But-
don't you think lolly is a negative?
I think the thing is, what I'm getting to here is you also have these rape fantasy videos, right? And they are basically an acted out thing. There, you can say it's gross when you see a professional porn
Grandad's
star like,
Lounge,
choked to death,
sitting
like,
on
by
the edge of a
fucking her.
seat
But
right
if
now.
it's basically a professional doing an act, I think it comes under a weird freedom of speech thing where I'm like, okay, I don't know where we go with this. But when you compare it to something like what D&E Media does, where they're basically paying an actress who will do like one shoot, or like say, I don't know, a couple of thousand, and you're seeing this actress literally cry.
Yeah, okay. So Dean's saying, I'm sorry, but I don't think people who wouldn't otherwise do this are going to suddenly start wrangling a snake to a lolly. I agree with you, but I think if you're gonna, the best version of their argument is probably saying that introducing it to teenagers who may be looking at these hentai sites in a phase where their interests are being molded, that could cause them to have an interest later on, right? Or a continued interest rather in lolly. That would be the argument, more than adults are going to suddenly just become lolicons. I doubt that's going to happen. Usually interest formed a little bit before that.
In, some guy pisses on her. I feel like that's the clear difference.
Okay, I'm
there.
struggling here, buddy, because I'm curious how this relates to, like, you're
and I
defending
think
lolly. Can you square the circle for me concisely?
Okay, my point is, we have this thing where obviously there's a huge market for a lot of weird shit, including girls who could easily be mistaken for way younger than they are, which is where we get into the whole lolly mess. Because one of the things I noticed when people were talking
Listen,
about...
I don't think that guy's character is technically a lolly. All right, guys, I don't think that's technically a lolly. It is from an incest show. I believe that is an incest character, an underage incest character. So there is that. What's the 2 seconds?
People are looking up fictional characters' ages, and I'm sorry, that's goofy. Either it looks like a child or it doesn't, which is where it gets all weird, because you have these people trying to argue about the ages of fictional characters, at which point you either know it's like, okay, that looks like a fucking gnome, that's gross, or you go, oh, it looks like a big-titted tall woman. It's quite easy to tell just by looking. And yeah, and also another thing is we get into the whole art mess a lot with lolly, which is why we have people like Alan Moore, you know, the guy who did Watchmen, arguably producing Lollycon, which, yeah, that exists. You can find it if you want. I don't. It's not particularly worth paying attention to. But it does get into the mess of, okay, what's artistic, what's not. That's why I also brought up Berserk as an example, something that's absolutely beloved, which I've quite heavily criticised for its sexual content. But I would say, yes, it deserves its freedom of speech.
Can I respond to that? So
Yeah,
I've heard this topic brought up a lot, and I think that this is going to take a hot minute. But to properly answer you, we need to go over like the history of child pornography laws like within the United States, okay? And just to be very, very clear about like how it regards to freedom of speech. So the first thing that you need to know, and this is true for anyone watching, okay? When we're talking about freedom of speech, there are always exceptions to freedom of speech. Those exceptions are incitement to violence, fighting words, obscenity, blackmail, libel, defamation, and child pornography. These are all things that are considered to be exceptions of freedom of speech. And the Supreme Court made a decision regarding the reason why child pornography is federally illegal is because of a decision that was made in 1982, New York versus Ferber, which which unanimously ruled that the First Amendment of the United States did not forbid states from banning the sale of depictions of children engaged in sexual activity, even if the material was not obscene. Now, this part is a technical point, but it's important to understand. Okay, child pornography is not considered to be obscenity. Okay, it's a separate category. Anything that could be considered to be child pornography is automatically banned. It is automatically not covered under the freedom of speech law. And part of the reason for that is because, according to what in the court's opinion when they made this decision in 1982, and this is important regarding to obscenity, visual depictions of children engaged in sexual activity have negligible artistic value. That's important because when we're considering the Miller test, which is what establishes what is obscenity and what is not obscenity, it's anything that could be reasonably that is obscene or that is offensive, but there is artistic value to it. Therefore, you could still allow it to happen. So this happened in 1982. Then there was another decision that was made in 2002, which was
Dude, this is just the absolute worst incarnation of just feminist in the debate club, isn't it? Oh, brother. I'm getting PTSD. I'm getting PTSD. I am honestly getting PTSD. It's triggering something, some visceral trauma I've collected over hundreds of small irritations in interactions with women. I can just feel it all coming out of Fairy Queen right now.
Ashcroft versus the Free Speech Coalition, where they decided, and what they decided was simulated, so this regards to Lolly specifically, that simulated child pornography, that drawn pictures, that mere possession of this in your home did not count as child pornography, and it was considered to be protected free speech. And this is the reason why people say that Lolly and drawn child pornography is legal, but that's not true. And the reason why it's not true is because of a decision that was made in 2008. So you guys can look this up. This is the United Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. This was the United States of America versus Dwight Eden Worley. This was the defendant. The story of this was Dwight Worley was convicted of knowingly receiving on a computer 20 obscene Japanese anime cartoons depicting minors engaged in sexually explicit content in violation of, this is the law, knowingly receiving as a person previously convicted of receiving depictions of minors engaged in sexually explicit content. So this is why that Supreme Court decision is important. So this is what they specifically said in the decision and made reference to the previous decision in 2002. The decision that they made here was that you have the right to possess, but you don't have the right to receive. So what that means is if you go, Joe Brooks, you pick out your notepad and pen, and if you want to draw a disgusting image in the privacy of your own home, the sad truth of it is if the FBI breaks in and finds that in your apartment, they can't convict you of it.
But what they can, America, we have completely different laws.
But what they could convict you of, if you were a based United States American citizen, if you were here, if you are on your computer and if you're downloading images, if you are buying manga books that has this depiction, and if you are going onto the internet, which is by far the vast majority of people who consume Lolly, then you absolutely can be convicted for that.
Okay, before you respond to that, just so I'm clear, Fairy Queen, is your argument that Lolly is child pornography?
As I think Malcolm Lamai, it is child pornography. Legally speaking, it is not considered to be child pornography because it does not actually depict a child. But I consider, but I'm just saying for the sake of the legality of the argument, however, child erotica, if you go online and if you download it to your computer, if you buy it from the store, you can still be sent to jail. You can still be convicted and you can still go to jail for it. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you're at home and if you're drawing a weird picture, you can't be arrested for that. That's
okay, so here's the problem. Why does Can Waterstones or something sell something which might easily be considered child pornography? Why can one of the biggest chain? It's the biggest chain of bookstores in the UK, and we have much stricter laws.
You're not in the United States, so I can't answer that. All I can tell you is that,
my point is that the United States would probably be very similar, because this isn't just a Japanese thing. For the record, this is basically very. If you look into the sort of,
I've completely missed what this point is. You can still go to jail for it.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you're at home and if you're drawing a weird picture, you can't be arrested for that. That's
okay, so here's the problem. Why does Can Waterstones or something sell something which might easily be considered child pornography? Why can one of the biggest chain? It's the biggest chain of bookstores in the UK, and we have much stricter laws.
You're not in the United States, so I can't answer that. All I can tell you is that,
my point is that the United States would probably be very similar, because this isn't just a Japanese thing. For the record, this is basically very. If you look into the sort of people who actually do draw, it is, like I said, Alan Moore. That's probably one of the most well-known comic writers in the world, I would guess, next to maybe Stan Lee. I don't know. I'm not huge on comics, to be honest. But, he has put out a work which is undeniably a thing of very eroticized, children stuff. He did it with his wife. I don't know. The guy's into some weird shit. I've never really been a huge fan, but it's interesting.
So I don't know. So I don't know because I've never seen this. I don't have access to it, and I don't want to look it up. But my assumption would be that when we're talking specifically about child erotica, we are talking specifically about drawn, explicit images of children engaged in sexual activity or who are depicted in a sexualized manner. So if it's the case that you're legally able to sell this material, that means that it doesn't cross the subjective line across for it to be for it to be considered child erotica. That's what I would assume to be the reason. Now, to answer this, but there's a second possibility, and the second possibility is that nobody thinks to sue over this.
Well, then it sounds like you're unable to draw a consistent moral standard on this, then. What? So do you think... So what's your position? So she didn't state a position on the Alan Moore stuff. She said, well, I guess it just doesn't cross the standard. But it's like, well, what's your line then? What's your line? Where's your line? This is the interesting part of the debate. Is how do you decide? What is your line? How do you determine? That's the interesting part. But no, they just want to spit stats at each other, spit legal facts at each other. That's not interesting. You're not getting to content or a real disagreement here.
This. Nobody thinks to sue the bookstores over this. Nobody thinks to file a lawsuit over this. Precisely before the reason that you mentioned earlier, which is the common misconception, which is that lolly is legal and that this is a matter of freedom of speech. Clearly speaking, when we're looking at like the track record according to these Supreme Court decisions, it's only legal in the sense that you can sit with a notepad and paper and draw it. It's not legal in the sense that you...
Fairy Queen, is it your contention that based on the contents of Bosch's folder that he is in legal trouble here?
I think that he potentially could be. I think that it's very possible that he could be. If he went onto a website and he downloaded these materials, this is exactly like the Dwight Worley case like in 2008. It's no different than here. And by the way, this is true for any person. Like if your boss goes to your computer and they see that you have sent emails containing this type of material, if they see tons of downloaded images like these on that person's computer, that person can go to jail and that person can be convicted.
I will say someone I know at a job I had did actually do that. Not that they actually went to jail or anything, they just accidentally shared their hentai folder. So it does have, Bosch isn't the only one I've seen that happen to.
$5 from Flatworm to say ban pornography, embrace Jesus Christ. Thank you for the $5. I wanted to toss it to we'll go to Killdoge.
No, I don't know. I look at those ultra religious countries and I look at and I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work.
I get it, Joe. We're gonna toss it to Killdoge and then we're gonna toss it to Malcolm. Go ahead.
So, I personally find the criminalization of, now that doesn't necessarily mean that I think this type of stuff should be completely unregulated. I think that there's a lot of
I don't know how we got onto the legal conversation and how this
a lot of harm here. But like in Canada, for example, like lolly is pretty explicitly illegal. And I'm thinking of a couple cases where, the material in question was ambiguous enough, although it wasn't lolly, for those people to be charged. For example, people have been charged for having just yaoi, which is just gay anime pornography, basically. And then you've had another individual case that I've heard of where, a man was put in prison for 3 years for having 80 lolicon pictures on his computer, but there was no evidence that he had ever predated on a child or that he was looking at like IRL child pornography. So I think that when you're looking at those cases, I mean, I don't see how useful that is.
Yeah, it's illegal for me to torrent the Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 Blu-ray, but would we say it's immoral? Or would we say I should be cancelled for it? Just because something's illegal to acquire it's not really an argument.
In terms of the law, like, are we really targeting the right people with that? And also, I want to just make the interesting point that, we treat like lolicon in this special category when there's all kinds of really problematic and predatory pornography out there. For example, like incest pornography is very popular. Do we need to like, warn people's like sisters that look at incest pornography that they
lolly is clearly immoral. Okay. What do you mean lolly is immoral? You don't even know what you're talking about. You've clearly not thought about this more than 2 seconds. Come in Discord. Join the Discord.
Might, that their sibling is going to like, predate upon them, or like consensual non-consent, for example. Like, is that not like a glorified depiction of predatory behavior? So I'm curious as to why like lolicon is its own special category in that sense, because, well, I do agree that it's problematic and can be harmful. I don't think that it's anywhere near the same thing as like IRL child pornography.
Okay, Joe, put your hand down. We'll get to you. You were too excited when you raised your hand when they talked about incest pornography. Wait.
To the Melanie Cosmic Fox Sky.
Take it easy, Doobie. That's a reporter. You're an unstable person pretending to be something you're not. You are statistically likely to or abuse or both. How do I sense this properly? I suggest you protest Palestine. Thank you, Doobie, for the $5.
Too excited. Calm down. Just to answer your question though, real quick, it's because it's kids. That's the reason. But Malcolm, go ahead.
Well, I mean, are not like are kids like somehow more
vulnerable? Yes.
Serious than like a woman getting raped? I would think that they're on an equal level.
Absolutely. I think children are like the target of your sexual interest. That is a special
Let's be clear. Statistically, they're far more rapists than pedophiles.
Joe, stop. We're giving it to Malcolm.
It's just a fact.
Joe, can you not? We're giving it to Malcolm. Malcolm has the floor. Malcolm, go ahead.
So, like, again, like reiterating this point, like over and over and over again, the problematic aspect of lolicon is that you are indulging in a sexual, like, essentially a paraphilia, that your sexual interest is a child, and your consumption of that indicates that this is something that you are sexually aroused by, and if that is a predilection that you are into, that is a red flag for every single child that you will ever be around. I don't need to see data to see that, like, oh, well, 90% of the time, if somebody who consumes lolly doesn't rape a kid, so therefore lolly's fine. I genuinely don't care about that, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. If somebody tells me I think kids are hot, I don't give a fuck if they're going to be a non-offending pedophile for the rest of their life. They should never have the opportunity to offend. They should be kept away from children forever, period. That's like kind of the whole point of people coming out with this kind of information is like, okay, you have denoted that you think kids are hot. Okay, what is our response to that? Not let's do semantic fucking run around bibble babble about if it's hebophilia, if it's drawn, if it's a picture, if the kid's like kind of hot, if the kid has big tits. Like, no, we would never tolerate like this kind of discussion around somebody explicitly declaring their interest in a certain demographic of somebody who cannot consent, mind you, in any meaningful capacity. And at the very end of the line, it is our responsibility, especially in a space like this, where we need to push back against people thinking that this is normal. We need to make sure that we are condemning people that consume this material, regardless or not if they offend. The whole problem is that they think kids are hot. Like, I don't know how to explain it more clearly. The issue is that somebody thinks that children are hot. That is an issue, okay? And the whole argument about like incest porn and like all this other shit, like I'm not going to defend the existence of incest porn or like consent, non-consent. I don't fuck with any of that shit. However, I will say there is a very, very, very clear difference between two adults pretending to be brother and sister getting paid to fuck on camera versus somebody like actually like having sexual interest in having sex with a child or consuming drawn depictions of a child being raped. These are completely separate things. And I mean, if you cannot parse those two things, I don't know what to say to you other than...
Dude, I fucking hate this shit where people just go, it's just different. It's just different. The point that's being made is that they are both simulations of sexual acts that are inherently immoral to carry, or, you know, well, almost, obviously Destiny would take issue with saying incest is inherently immoral to carry out. But the point is that for rape, for CNC, it definitely works. These are both simulations of inherently immoral sexual acts to carry out. That is the comparison that's being drawn. Just going, well, they're different, bro. Well, they're different, bro. Well, they're different, bro. That doesn't say anything. You're not making an argument there.
And like, you should probably be on the list too. That's all I can say.
Oh,
And-
you
and
thinking
I'll-
that they're both bad?
I'm going to hop back off of what Malcolm said because everything that he said is absolutely right. But on top of that, specifically with Lolly, remember, I mentioned this earlier, like when we were discussing like one of the unique problems, which is unique to child pornography specifically. All of the types of pornography that you
Yeah,
mentioned,
Fair Queen,
incest
you're like
pornography,
retarded.
CNC, these are clearly these are problematic and like these are problematic examples of pornography. But however, like there is something specific about child pornography that makes it particularly dangerous, and this is why it's dangerous. So these are the four things that this was published like shortly after the Supreme Court decision in 2002. It was published by the FBI, the Criminal Investigative Unit Division, Crimes Against Children Unit in 2002. These are the four things that child molesters use child pornography to do.
Nobody
To
is
demonstrate sex
saying
acts to kids, to lower
hire pedos or lolicons to kindergartens. No, I don't think anyone's arguing that. Except like that virtuous pedophile shit. I've heard that. Apparently, those people argue that shit. But that's obviously like, you know, deranged.
sexual inhibitions of children, to desensitize children to sex,
Well,
and
I
to
don't
sexually
think
arouse
anyone's
children. That is
agreeing
something
with
that is specific to child pornography, and that is just as much true as it is about lolicon as it is about real depictions of real depictions of children. And so when you say, what's the big deal? Like, look at all of the different problematic. I agree with you. All of this is bad, right? But it's far less likely for an adult person to take a CNC video, to show it to another adult person, and to coerce it, to push that person into being raped or to being sexually assaulted. That is far more likely.
Okay, but do you know what is way more likely than an adult showing a kid lolicon in order to coerce them? An adult giving a kid alcohol, or an adult giving a kid drugs, or an adult giving a kid, finding some other way of getting power over them. There's many things that can be used to as a tool for grooming. That's not alone a reason to impugn that thing. Like, you would not. This is not an argument you would make about alcohol. I do not believe. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe she would say we have to ban alcohol because it's a grooming tool. Maybe she would say that. Who knows?
Likely to happen to somebody who's a child. And on top of that, when children are exposed to this type of material, which anyone who consumes this on the internet is incentivizing by clicking on it, by adding it to the algorithm, it means that those children are far more likely to be sexually violent and to sexually aggress on other children around them. We are not just concerned. The problem with lolicon specifically is not just that a creepy adult will find it and will use it to try to molest children, or will use it to try to gratify his or her own impulses. The problem with it is that a child may find this on the internet because they're looking to play a Kim Possible video game, and they click on something that they don't understand, and they see a depiction of a sexualized cartoon depiction of somebody who looks like them being sexually dominated or abused by someone else.
Yeah, so this is just more of an argument for the segregate. This is, yes, access to pornographic content for it should be kept out of the way of children. Yes. No one is disagreeing with you, dude. No one is disagreeing with you. Nobody thinks, well, sorry. There are some people, maybe like, you know, smug bug types, that would say they want kids to have access to porn. I don't know, or Ninetales types. Maybe they would say that, but that broadly, most people agree kids should not have access to any porn. We should be trying to control all porn access, and all porn you could make the same argument about. So I don't know why it's being brought up here. It just doesn't make sense. Don't like CP, don't watch it. Smug bug, basically. Yeah.
else, and then they will go out and then they will sexually abuse another child out in the world. That is what is uniquely bad about the lolicon, and that is not something that you can say even in the same degree compared to any other type of pornography that you've mentioned.
And I would like to clarify really quickly, just to throw in one more thing, is even if I agree that there might not be a connection between the consumption of lolicon and actually predating on children, that window is significant enough for me where protecting children is going to be the priority, period. Like, you can find other shit to yoink to. You can draw your fucking short stack goblin girlfriends or whatever the fuck. Because that window exists, whether or not it's a strong correlative or like a light correlative, it doesn't matter. The protection of children is the priority, and that comes before your goon stash every single time, every fucking scenario possible under the sun.
Responses?
Well,
Yep, sure. Okay.
I don't think I agree with that. I feel like this is the think of the kids shit, isn't it? It's the you just have to accept that we have to protect kids, and any curtailing of your freedoms is justified. Like, no, I don't inherently agree with that. I think you've got to bring a better argument than that.
First of all, the Kim Possible thing was kind of what I was getting at when I brought out the sheer amount of people jerking off to My Little Pony characters, which is insane and generally quite fascinating. Which is, if they're looking for Kim Possible, they're probably seeing pornography of Kim Possible. That's probably part of why there's this insane base, you know, the whole furry thing with Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff like that. It's kids who watch Disney movies and stuff like that. They start looking them up, and that ends up being their early exposure to like extreme sexual content, which is why we get these weird situations where people have fetishes for, like, I don't know, Baloo or Tigger or whatever the fuck. But yeah, that's not really short stack. But what I find interesting is, Malcolm, at a point you started going off about children, and you defined a child as someone who could be tall, big-titted, and you know, you go, well, then if you, rather than that, why don't you just make your short stack? And I'm like, wait, isn't the short stack more like the child than having this vague definition of what even is a child? Like, if you basically argue, yeah, if you argue that a drawing can basically look like fucking Jessica Rabbit, then I'm sorry, you're jerking off to like Jessica Rabbit.
Well,
it
your height
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
determine your age, but if I showed you a picture of a 12-year-old girl that went through puberty at 12 years old and she had like triple Ds, would you think that that's okay to like whack off to because of the secondary sex characteristics?
No,
Or do you think
because
there's
that's
a
a
little more
12-year-old
than just
girl.
yeah, there's a little bit more there than just appearance, right? There's a little bit more than that. Yeah,
It's a real child, idiot.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's a real 12-year-old girl, so you probably shouldn't be sharing her image.
Even if I showed you a drawn picture of a 12-year-old girl getting fucking raped and it was an anime, and I was like, oh, but look, she has big tits. Does that get away from the fact that this is a
Wait, yeah, how it's drawn would change it. Yes, how it's drawn entirely changes it. Because you don't accept the law age argument. That is not an argument on this stuff. It's always about the appearance. Because if you bring in the law age stuff, then you have to start conceding to the 1,000-year-old witch in the body of a 7-year-old girl. It's not about the law age. It is about appearance. Now, it can be that there's like, say there's like a hentai that's specifically about some weird age shit where it's, you know what I mean, where that's like, it's specifically playing on the fact that maybe this is like meant to be like a 5-year-old in the body of a 22-year-old and it's constantly act like a child. Like, you can make an argument there, sure, but that's still in the presentation, right? That still comes down to the presentation. That's not about just the law age. It's not just, well, this character's that age, so that means there's something weird going on there. Well, no, that's not really what it means. Like Elfen Lied, that's a good example, right? Elfen Lied, I don't like. It's a fucking weird anime because it's literally basically like, I watched the first few episodes and it seemed like essentially the point of the show was that this demon bitch gets like domed by a sniper bullet and becomes retarded, and this guy like has a weird sexual relationship with this mentally disabled spastic girl who like crawls around on the floor all the time. That's weird. It's a very uncomfortable show. So like that's in the presentation. That's in the presentation. It's not about the law age or anything like that. It's all in the presentation.
drawn depiction of a 12-year-old getting raped? No,
No,
the secondary
because
sex
that's not
characteristic of
a
height is not
depiction
only
of
that,
a
right?
12-year-old. You can basically, that's my point. You can basically take any picture and then attach an age to it, which makes it weird if someone is really.
Yeah, exactly. It's
looking-
it's a drawing a stick figure with massive tits and then writing age 12 next to it, right? It's that shit.
But like, I want something where there's a bit of text which says they're 12, but they look like a fucking, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe, whoever people think is hot. But that's my point. It's like the short stack stuff I find way more creepy, just because I'm like, God, that looks like a kid. That's gross.
It's all pretty fucking disgusting.
But if I see a
short
short stack and it says that's why we get the weird mess with anime fandom where they argue all about age, where we have this meme about like the 1,000-year-old elf girl or something. And it's like, it looks like a kid in a bikini, but of course Nintendo publish it, which is part of my point also is we bring this stuff up a lot about the idea of like weirdos, but can I just point out that like you can have a major company like Nintendo, which puts out like an anime style like strategy game like Fire Emblem, and some of the characters in that are like obviously very sexually designed but look like they're fucking kids. And it's really weird when you consider it's a company like fucking Nintendo, which is part of why I do at least have a bit of sympathy for the Lolicons, because those guys, you know, the dealer is like Nintendo. A fucking...
Oh, this is a good point. Okay, this is a good point. This guy's being he's being reasonable here. Yeah, obviously, if you're playing a bunch of games as a kid where there's slight sexualization of lollies that have come from like, you know, fucking Nintendo games, then yeah, it's going to be the case that when you grow up, that's going to have an impact on your interests. Yeah. Okay, this is a good point. This is a good point.
Family company. You know, you can't just produce really sexualized images of characters that look like kids.
Well,
And then like
so many people play
cut
that
the
game, but they
company
don't jerk off to it. Like, is that not weird that like so many people are able to consume and enjoy and play this game where there like might be a depiction of a younger person in like a bikini or something, but they don't like jack off to it?
Well, I
Do
think
you not think that
what's
might be
weird,
the issue with it?
I think the weird thing is these characters are clearly drawn in a very sexualized manner, which makes me question why not go after the company also? Because a lot of the time, it's why we get this weird thing like, you know, the whole Gamergate mess with people complaining about censored Japanese games. And I'm like, you know, you can.
Okay, but now this guy's argument's changing because he's saying, don't you think the problem might be that people jerk off to it? It's like, well, yeah, I would agree that's how you would assess if someone's engaging in it in a possibly negative way psychologically, but that's not a statement on the morality. Now you're excusing the morality of the media and saying it's an issue with the consumer. Now that it's something he likes, now that it's a game he plays, now it's a company he likes, all of a sudden, it's not about the morality of the product. It's about the consumer and the way the consumer engages with it. That's just crazy. That switch up is just crazy.
You can laugh at the people who complain about it, but don't buy the fucking game at all. If you really hate this stuff, don't support companies that put it out.
Yes!
Do you think there's a
Oh
difference
man,
between,
this
like,
guy's spitting.
Sexualized kind of image of a younger person in a video game versus like a drawn depiction of like a literal child getting raped, like a
Oh man, don't you think there's kind of a difference? Don't you think there's kind of a difference? Yeah, well, it sounds like you think there's a difference. Why don't you explain it to me? Malcolm. Why don't you explain that to me? If that is right. Malcolm. That's what he's trying to say, because I could easily say, yes, explicit and implicit sexuality are different, but he's been arguing against both of them this whole time. Why don't you explain the difference, Malcolm?
graphic depiction of it. Are those two things the same?
Well, I think if you're clearly, that's the thing, you're saying sexualized depiction of a child.
Yeah, so think of like a drawing of like Missy from Pokemon, and she has on like her crop top and like her shorts or whatever, and she's like 14. And I think she's pretty big busted for like.
How old is Misty again? Sorry. 10 years old. 10 years old. 10 years of age, Malcolm. That is a 10-year-old girl. She is 10 years old, Malcolm. You are talking about the big busted 10-year-old girl there, Malcolm. You are a pedophile. I love how these people just tell on themselves. They're like, well, it's not that bad in this one case, is it? So, well, actually, brother. Well, actually, my friend, that's a 10-year-old. They always tell on themselves, don't they? These people that take strong stances, how they suddenly start morphing in certain specific cases. Sudden Misty's okay all of a sudden. You know, Fire Emblem's okay all of a sudden. Yeah, well, don't hurt those ones. Don't hurt those ones. Everything else, though, well, that's just different. Those are all for freaks. Okay, but don't hurt my ones. She did not even take algebra yet.
The same.
Well, I think if you're clearly, that's the thing, you're saying sexualized depiction of a child.
Yeah, so think of like a drawing of like Misty from Pokemon, and she has on like her crop top and like her shorts or whatever, and she's like 14. And I think she's pretty big busted for like how old they depict her. If you take just that character existing in a video game that might be like a little risque in its
I think
presentation,
the
is
thing
that the same as a drawing depiction of a child getting
Misty
raped?
is a very mild example. I would be thinking more some of the Fire Emblem character designs.
You can pick whatever
Persona's
character you
another
want. If you want to pick like a sexualized minor or whatever,
Yeah, he said crop top and shorts. Yeah, that's the original design. Yeah. So no, he's talking about the 10-year-old Misty. He's talking about 10-year-old Misty there. Oh, that's rough. That's rough.
that's drawn to be like risque or sexual, is that the same to you as a drawn depiction of a child getting raped, like a graphic depiction of a child getting raped?
Well, I would actually argue
never
a graphic
identified
depiction of a child being raped. Actually,
We're not going to answer the question because you know the answer is yes. There's a big difference between like, oh, here's a video game character that comes from Japan where they have kind of
Ladies and
different, like,
gentlemen,
taboo around the way that children dress versus like a literal drawn like fucking BBC orgy where they're raping a kid. Like obviously these things are fucking different. I don't know why that's hard to say.
No, I think they are different, but the point
to
I'm
be
making
just
is
to
one
ground
is clear. They're both clearly very sexualized in design, and
One of them
yeah,
is intended to be pornography and consumed for pornographic reasons. The other is
You
just a
know-
cultural representation of a character.
you know how many people in the like anime industry draw stuff also linked into pornography, right? Like it's not, the connection is pretty strong. If you
If you're
look,
fucking sick in the head, yeah. If I'm just playing Pokemon on my fucking phone, playing Pokemon Go,
sorry,
and I'm
it's
not like,
just-
dude, I can't wait to see Misty's
Hold on.
animated tits.
I'm
like,
sorry,
what are
no,
you
a
talking
lot of the
We're
artists
not
for
hold
hire
on,
also
stop,
have
hold on.
Sorry.
We're not going to argue about Misty from Pokemon and how big her tits may or may not be. I don't know. I don't care. This is almost beside the point. I wanted to give it to
No, it's
maybe
not.
rescue this line of questioning.
Whick is so retarded. That was the content, man. The Misty argument, honestly, the Misty argument, I think is killer for a lot of these people. I think it's killer. For these millennials, it's it's dynamite, dude. It's absolute dynamite. Because you can always get them. You can always get them. They all thought Misty was hot. All these millennials, dude, who grew up with Pokemon in the 90s, grew up trading Pokemon cards. That's their kryptonite. That's their Raven. Okay, and Raven's not even as bad because Raven's like 16 and portrayed as much older than fucking Misty is. But that's the one. That's how you Slade Wilson these people. Okay, I am Deathstroke to millennials. Okay, that is how you get them. You go, well, it's kind of like Misty, isn't it? And then they're like, well, yeah, but she was like big busted, and she's like 15, and you know she was like hot, and you know I was a kid too. Like I thought she was like 20. It's like, no, dude. That's a 10-year-old girl. That you're a pedophile. You're a pedophile. I've been an Ash's mom guy since I was 11.
But I do have a question to maybe ground us, because to Malcolm's point, right? To Malcolm's point, what Vosh had in his folder weren't just sexualized images.
You know they
They
got
were
your
images
mans.
Of, in some
You know
cases,
they got your
animal-like
mans.
figures performing sex acts, I believe, on animals.
On a horse. On a horse.
Yep.
yes, a horse.
Okay. Well,
To be exact, it was a
But
horse
I wanna-
ejaculating.
Yo, I see DK is now on Solium Infernum 2. I feel like an async game needs to be started. I feel like we need Stylo DK starting an async game on Solium Infernum with me.
Drop
Tell
up.
those
Okay,
and-
stop it.
yeah.
Stop it. Jesus Christ.
I'm curious why, like, you know, Malcolm, you can see the difference between like a mildly like sexualized image of like a cartoon child and lolicon, but not the difference between like the actual extreme real life harm that happens in IRL CP and lolicon, and say that they're equally harmful. Or
No
at
one
least
here is
imply-
saying that no one here is saying that IRL CP is less harmful or at the same level as lolly. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying
No.
But
is
you want it to be legislated as such, no?
Yes, I want every single person that consumes lolicon for sexual gratification to be on a list so they can never work at a fucking daycare or watch somebody's kid. Yeah, I want those people to be kept away from children, yes.
I'm talking specifically about the legislation of making lolicon illegal, though.
Lolicon's already federally illegal, so there's not much I can do about that. If they choose not to prosecute, they choose not to prosecute. However, I do think a lolly list would be quite fucking banger, so if I go to apply it at like a fucking daycare and it pings that I have a goon folder full of fucking lolicon, they won't hire me because I shouldn't be allowed around kids if that's the kind of shit that I'm into.
The other thing too, though, is like if somebody is watching any kind of violent pornography, would you want them in any like type of position where they're working with vulnerable people? Why single out lolicon here?
because
That's the topic of the debate, but if somebody was into like, I'm thinking like crazy shit, like think like Serbian film. If it came out that somebody actually fucking got off of that shit, yeah, absolutely. Or if you're somebody that is like a necrophile, should you have a job in a mortuary? Probably not. Like, yes, I definitely think that if it comes to light that these are predilections that you have based on your sexual interests, yeah, there are certain demographics that you should probably be kept away from. Yeah.
Fairy Queen, you were trying to get in there. I want to give you the space.
again, the reason, like, so I agree with everything that Malcolm just said, but also sidebar, okay? Because according to the report that we have from the FBI, people who are child molesters or people who are sexually attracted to kids tend to collect not just actual IRL child pornography, but also child erotica. And the reason why that is because actual CP can be difficult to find. It can be difficult to find true actual images of child pornography for many people. So it used to be, so for that reason, what a lot of people will do is people who specifically are attracted to children.
No, I don't think anyone disagreed with that point. Oh my God.
They will find as many images as they possibly can, and they will store them so that they can find them later. That's the reason why that's why they download them to their computer in the first place. It's so that they don't have to go back to the website over and over and over again.
Yeah, no shit. That's why anyone downloads anything, you fucking idiot.
Just really quick for everybody.
What
Does
the
everybody here
fuck?
understand that like the sexual abuse of children is like especially bad because of the vulnerability of children and their inability to consent? Does everybody agree that that's a special kind of sex crime?
I mean, I'm a victim of
It's a fairly
CSA.
Dude.
Okay, just checking because we keep kind of leaning on this thing where it's like, well,
Well, the reason why people archive content online is because it could be taken down and they might not be able to find it again. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason why people drink water is because it hydrates them and is necessary to continue living. Yep.
what about like rape porn? Well, what about this kind of porn? It's like if we're talking about the sexual like target of your affection being children, that is especially bad. When we're talking about it in the context of children, right? It does get that special little moniker because it is something that is a little bit more serious and more severe, right? I shouldn't say a little bit, significantly more serious and severe.
Okay, so has anyone done any research on AI pornography? Okay, I guess I'm the only one who's done any research on it. Because that is, first of all...
Just real quick, Joe, to maybe shortcut this, are you speaking of AI-generated images of children?
Not particularly.
No, I think if you download porn, you're a little bit weird, but I don't think it's an indicator of any actual potential misconduct.
But it will end up leaning there because that's an inevitable thing to bring up.
Okay. I'm just trying to. Why does this matter? And I did get $5.
What matters is what the AI thinks people want. Basically.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. Let me read this dono. $5 from Parallax. Notably, people in cults rarely recognize they're in a cult. Keldoge definitely giving off cult vibes. Don't drink the lolly aid. Thank you for the $5. Joe, back to you.
Okay, so basically, AI. First of all, it absolutely loves Asian women. Like 9 to 1, it is into Asian women. Next of all,
oh, wait, what? Sorry, excuse me. Ninja what?
Okay, so basically, AI. First of all, it absolutely loves Asian women. Like 9 to 1, it is into Asian women. Next of all, it hates pubic hair. Like it's basically just looking at what the audience seems to respond to. It's a bit like did anyone hear about the YouTube Kids thing where there was an AI which was just...
What does this have to do with the lolly discussion?
What it has to do with is the uncomfortable fact that there's a huge amount of guys who are really into young-looking Asian women with no pubic hair.
Do you think that's the same as lolly?
I think it points to an uncomfortable fact that there's a general strong interest in young-looking women in just regular pornography. And when you feed that into AI, where we get into the lolly thing, we can remove the age of consent because we don't have to worry about a cartoon character's age.
I mean, my man is kind of just spitting here. You do kind of have to grapple with the uncomfortable reality of how popular women who look exceedingly young are, right? That is a point that you have to understand. If you're going to talk about this shit, you can't just sit there and pretend that any guy who's like looking at the petite category is like a monster like Stardust does. You can't do that.
More because it's an AI. But what we're going to see is I think some of Vax's images were AI driven, but what we're going to see is some very uncomfortable revelations regarding what people are into when an AI is basically making the judgments rather than anything else. And it's going to be very interesting.
Can I respond? Also, I'll respond quickly to Joe, and then I want to respond to something that I saw in chat because I think this is important. So, Joe, I mean, sure, but my answer to you is that like the AI-generated image, it would be treated exactly the same way as the Supreme Court case in 2008 treated the man that had tons of downloaded images. Okay.
Oh, great! So now another fucking legal argument. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love it. Isn't she just so useless, bro? What an awful conversation this is.
It's illegal. It's illegal to distribute. It's illegal to post. It's illegal to buy. It's illegal to purchase. If you are it's also illegal to distribute and to sell to other people. So if you're involved in the commerce of AI, right, of specifically AI-generated images of children in sexualized positions, then yes, you are committing a crime. It is illegal. So so regardless of whether or not there's a demand or not, it doesn't really matter. That's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is how we're supposed to respond to it. Secondly, there's something that somebody brought up in the Twitch chat earlier, and that has to do.
Okay, but oh man, but the how prolific it is, how prolific the interest is going to determine, to an extent, how we respond to it. No? If in a theoretical society where 100% of men were into lolicon, it would not be a predictor of behavior, right? it would not be a useful predictor of behavior. So you would change the way you treat people who are into it. So yeah, how prolific something is does matter to how you're going to treat it. What?
Do with something that I found in researching for today, which is called the gamer's dilemma. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the gamer's dilemma is this. Okay, so the question that some people ask in trying to defend lolicon is, well, hang on, aren't there video games, where you can genocide an entire population, where you can go and shoot people, like in Call of Duty, or why, like, if this is okay, if it's okay for you to simulate murder, like, why is it okay for you to do this, but not okay to engage in lolicon? I've heard people make that argument before, and this is the answer. Okay, it's because we don't have an established body of research that demonstrates that when people play video games, that they are more likely to commit violent crime, that they're more likely to murder, that they're more likely to commit assault. We do, however, have a huge established body of research that when children are exposed to sexualized images of themselves, that they are more likely to sexually assault and to sexually abuse other people. And we also have a large body of research.
Okay, but that's an argument against showing any porn to kids. Dude, you're so retarded. She's not making an argument about lolly. Dude. Okay, next one. What's the next point? Maybe she'll pull it back.
That shows that child molesters use lolicon in order to sexually disinhibit children.
Again, child molesters use alcohol to sexually disinhibit children. What? Dude, none of these things are arguments about lolly.
Make them more likely to become victims, which means that when you go onto a website, if you're one of those people that goes onto a website and you download or you consume or you participate in the commerce of lolicon, that you are contributing and financially incentivizing a business that helps to sexually assault children.
So
That's the reason why it's different.
Fairy Queen, the response to that would be that the organizations and institutions in the U.S.
I'm not crying over CP. I think distribution of sexually explicit cartoons of children should probably be illegal. That's probably where I land with. Distribution should probably be illegal, and that's probably where the moral wrong is. I'm not spurring out over CP. I've said this numerous times now. I've said this many, many times. I feel like I have to keep restating it because I think part of the issue is people think I'm making an argument for all lolly being like this amazing thing. Everyone should just love lolly. It's really cool. I'm not saying that because I'm picking apart other people's arguments. I'm just picking apart their reasoning and their arguments and why they're so bad. Okay, so I feel like I have to keep repeating. Distribution bad, distribution bad, distribution bad. But I think the biggest harm you can show is to the consumers, whether they be teenagers that come across it while browsing websites in formative years, or adults who get pipelined or something to that effect.
It's the U.S. Army, right? The military.
But it's an alcohol or drugs style issue. It's not like, oh, they're handing out this, like the WMD of child grooming. These websites are handing out the WMD of child grooming. All you need is one lolicon image and it will instantly turn you into the Jimmy Savile. It's like a power up for child molesters. Like, no, this isn't the argument. This is retarded.
Arm, right, has used video games in the past to get people to want to sign up, join, and engage in violent acts overseas. That would be the argument, is that we have examples of the government using this in order to draw in youth, kids, right, and recruit them into their things.
Okay, I just briefly wanted to address some video game.
I want to hear the response. I want to hear the response from Fairy Queen to that, though, because given that, right, that we do have some evidence.
It's true. So it's true that like we do use our video games in order to. I have heard this as well, that like the government uses video games in order to train potential soldiers before they go into battle. But again, what I don't see and what no one has ever been able to recruit.
Yes, to recruit.
Well, we can't.
They put out like an army. The army put out a shooter. And the hope was, right, that this would help recruit the youth. They put out a shooting video game, allowed children to download it and things like that. They marketed it to people who liked FPSs and things like that, and they used it as a recruitment tool. Now, you can argue it wasn't very effective, etc. I don't know the stats on that. And recruitment is down overall, like in the last 5 years or so. But this is a tool that they, again, thought had a shot.
But the question is like how effective, like that is the question. That's the whole point of me bringing up the analogy, is that it is not, we don't have the consequence nearly to the same degree that we do for video games as we do in comparison to lolly. That's the point. And it may well be true that the United States government has tried to use video games as a recruitment tool, right? But the question that I have, right, were one, and this, I'd have to look at the study, were the people that were trying to be, who the government was trying to recruit, were they more likely to commit violent assault? Were they more likely to murder? Did they have a history of violent crime that was increased afterwards? Because all the studies that I have regarding violent video games don't show that. What they show is that if you are playing a violent video game, you are temporarily aggressive for about like roughly an hour or two afterwards. So you're temporarily more aggressive. But in the long term, you are not more likely to murder, you're not more likely to steal, you're not more likely to commit violent crime as a consequence of viewing or like participating in a violent video game, as opposed to child pornography or lolicon, in which case we do have a wide body of research that shows that kids, when they watch it, when they have access to this, that they are more likely to sexually assault and to violate other children.
Okay, so I think the video game thing is very simple. Imagine a game where you just like stabbed someone in the face. That's all you did. You just loaded it up. You had various realistic faces and you stabbed them. That would basically be the equivalent of like the porn game sort of thing. You might say would be like a lolly game or whatever, something which purely exists for some weird sexual gratification. Most games aren't like that. You know, you're not stabbing someone in the face. You're running around. You get behind them. You stab them in the face. Then you run away. Then there's a bunch of them coming after you. You run, hide. You get a gun. You shoot. It's an intense kind of exciting experience. It's not.
Big Dong Daddy Dom says this is why guys like girls with daddy issues, otherwise you get this. Thank you. Thank you.
Not just something where you enjoy watching someone get stabbed in the face over and over again. So I think that's the real difference. I want to briefly go back to the AI thing because remember when we debated pornography and I was one of the few guys to go against it? One of my big points was that the porn industry is full of women who are either trafficked or in some cases are underage. And the thing nobody will acknowledge about the underage thing is no one can actually fucking tell because people cannot often tell the difference between a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. And that's why the AI thing is going to be a huge mess because
Oh, bro is flying so close right now. Whoa. Whoa.
will cause a huge it will be this huge thing of like, is this too childish? Or because like I said, there's an obvious thing with actresses who are employed because they look really young, which is why we get into the mess with AI. And I mean, they're already shaving their cunts all the time anyway, so you know.
And you even got to realize.
Fuck! I didn't even say it! Dude! Oh my god. Why? He said the C word. I like this guy. I do like this guy. I do like this guy. This is one of Whick's rare good panelists. Mythical.
Example of that with what happened on Pornhub and how
Oh,
there was a
Pornhub
ton.
isn't even the
Let
worst. It's pretty mild.
Keldaj go. Let Keldaj go.
I was just gonna say is that
Yeah, and he's got a consistent anti-porn perspective as well. That's the thing. That's what I like. He's not. He's argued. People are going to sit there and say he's pro lolly, but he's not been arguing pro lolly. He's been like arguing about like, you know, saying that it's bad that Fire Emblem perpetuates the stuff, that Nintendo introduced people to it early and shit like that. It's not just pro lolly, but he's saying also I've got sympathy for people getting brought onto it early. So yeah, this guy's doing well. This guy's based. He's spitting. He's spitting. I don't necessarily condone the 15-year-olds got like 20-year-olds comment. I cannot avow that. That's disgusting. But Batman's doing well.
that like, you know, where Pornhub had a lot of child pornography and you know, pornography that was a result of people being trafficked, and you know, you're just looking at a free pornography site, you can't just tell by the video, right? It's very easy to make that video look like
Refer to Ethan Stapley.
So
the issue would be the intent. If you're
that.
seeking out that kind of content, the intent, and that would be the issue. If you just accidentally are like, oh, this girl was actually just barely 18, they told her that she was gonna, you know, get fucked on camera for $500, but they actually gave her $20 and told her to fuck off. Like, that's really unethically sourced and super shitty or whatever. But if I'm like literally looking for a specific kind of porn that exploits people, and like, regardless of what everybody thinks, I mean, like, there is no such thing as consensual sex with children. So like, even if I find, you know, a video of like CSAM or whatever, like, that is the issue. My intent is to consume this kind of content. Like, these are two totally different things, right?
Okay, I think the issue I have there is if you go on Pornhub and you jerk off to a 15-year-old, but you think she's in her mid-20s, you still just jerked off to a 15-year-old. You just might never know. You might be
Yeah,
going.
that's still a problem. The intent is the issue, though. The intent is that your target of like your sexual interest is a child.
In Vosh's explanation video, he claims, whether this is true or not, he claims that this was accidental, that he accidentally saved these. He did not, it was to be sorted, and that it was not, like, he just didn't check them, right? That is his claim. So does that not speak to intent, like to your argument right there, Malcolm?
No, because he has said in his own video where he did like his apology or whatever, that like he has, even in the clips that he's provided like previously, where he's come out and he said, you know, like when you are on these websites, you have to be super careful, like that you're not accidentally downloading lolly. He famously has that clip where he's like, yeah, and he says it's satire, I don't believe him at all, where he's like, you know, sometimes you're on a hentai site and you're just like fucking whacking it and then you're done and you're like, holy shit, that was lolicon. Like he's very acutely aware of how to navigate these spaces and how to avoid like this kind of content. So I don't believe that it was just like a whoopsie, I accidentally downloaded it, especially with the image of the horse. Like that was very clearly like a child lolly, like very clearly a child lolly. And I don't buy it. I think that's bullshit. It's just because of his own attestation that he knows how to navigate these sites, he knows how to avoid lolly. So how did he magically end up with it again? You know what I mean?
Okay. On that note, gang, I think we've done the rounds here. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna give closing statements. I want you all to tell people where they can find you if they want to.
Ballers. Oh,
then,
brother.
There's a few people who want to call in. You guys can stay for call-ins if you like. You don't have to. I'm gonna let them call in and have their say. So yeah, if you were watching this and you've enjoyed the discussion today, please hit that like button and subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch or Kick, hit that follow button. Donations are always appreciated, whether it be gift
How long
cards.
have we got? Hour and 40 minutes, at like mostly at 1.5. We've got like 3 hours of content out of it. We're not doing too bad with this, are we? You know, I thought this would be non-tent, and the panel kind of is. It's giving me a lot of chance to talk about stuff. Talk about distribution bad, okay, guys. I have to keep restating it because people are just so retarded and cannot understand when you're picking apart someone else's argument and when you're making your own positive argument.
Gift bits, super chats. If you super chat, I'll try to read it on air. All these things are really helpful. So I do appreciate you all coming through today, and I will give you a chance to shout yourselves out and have closing statements. We're gonna start in the reverse order that we started. We're gonna start with Malcolm. And
I heard Rezavir saying some stupid fucking shit. I was like half asleep, so I wasn't gonna fucking reply to it. But he said some stupid shit like that. My moral argument was that it was normalized, so it was okay. I tried to just leave, and then he called that a good argument. And I was like, oh my god. Please shut the fuck up. Please shut the fuck up.
with Keldoge. So Malcolm, go ahead.
Thanks for having me on. I'm Malcolm, FT Mongoose on everything. It's a little double entendre, FTM, female to Mongoose. It's a little jokey poo. I stream mostly about trans stuff, but I also love indulging in internet drama. It's like my favorite thing in the whole fucking world. There are like 3 trans guys that stream on Twitch, so I will continue to use my minority status to farm clout. So if you don't follow me, you are in fact transphobic. On the topic at hand about lolicon, I will circle all the way back to the thing that I said at the beginning. The issue with the consumption of lolicon is one, that the target of your sexual interest is a child. That says a lot about you and the kinds of predilections that you have, maybe even the paraphilias that you have. And at the very least, these are people who are very open and out about being into this kind of shit. You should be put on some kind of loliconographer list and kept far the fuck away from children. And anybody who disagrees with that is very sussy, and I would say that they would probably need to be put on the list as well. And I do, again, appreciate Whick making room for me. There's nothing that grinds my gears more than seeing trans people that are willing to defend lolicon in any kind of context. Like, congratulations, you just shot both of your feet and your kneecaps at the same fucking time. Please stop doing that. It is horrible. And that is all. Thank you. Thank you again.
Check him out, gang. He's great. Give him a follow or a like or whatever. Thank you
Or
for
you're
being here.
transphobic.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. Next up, Joe Brooks. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I guess my statement would be I think this stuff is too oversimplified. It is very messy when people are discussing, one thing, the age of a drawing, and two, basically trying to argue what is and isn't pedophilic. When you've got these very vague cartoon characters with exaggerated proportions, it's kind of a mess. What I think we will have to discuss in the future is where AI is going to go, because I think we're going to have some uncomfortable revelations in the future due to that. Anyway, I'm Joe Brooks. I don't stream, but I did. If you want to see me go on about how fucked up some of Japan's stuff is, particularly a very popular series called Berserk, which people are very much in denial about how clearly eroticized its rape scenes are, I put up a censored video on that on my channel. If anyone wants to go have a look at that. I wish we could show it uncut, because I always think it's good to actually see what we're talking about, but sadly, Berserk fans will get me banned if I do that again. So that's my closing statement.
Gary, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Check him out if you'd like to see that kind of content. Next up, Fairy Queen.
Hi guys, you can find me at Fairy Queen.
Yeah, apparently this guy's got
YouTube.
some video essay about Berserk. I guess that's where Grandad's Lounge probably got his talking points from. I haven't seen it. I mean, if you guys listen, you guys should watch his video essay. This guy was based on this panel. So maybe you should engage with his arguments instead of spurging out.
I'm going to go ahead and drop my link in both the Twitch and the YouTube chat if you want to find me. Please go ahead and click there and give me a follow. Always appreciated, never expected. I typically like to stream on feminist content. I like to do debate panels. If you want to come and yell at me, let me know. As far as like my closing statement, so these are the 3 things that I want to people to remember about what I said tonight, okay? And I'm responding specifically to arguments that I've heard other people make.
I'm praying I remember none of that.
The argument that it's just a picture, it doesn't hurt anyone. What's the harm? It's not a real child. It is harm. There is significant harm in the production and in the consumption of lolly. 1, because it incentivizes.
What? Oh, brother. How in the production? How in drawing something? That's a production. That is putting pen to paper and drawing it. How is there harm in that? Please, I would love to hear the argument here. Holy fuck.
Is the business model. If people go onto these websites, click and download these images, buy manga books where this type of depiction is consumed, that means that you are financially contributing to an art form that is used by child molesters in order to disinhibit children. And if children are exposed to it, which they're more likely to be exposed to it if you choose to consume it and therefore contribute to the algorithm for it, that means that you are financially contributing to actual abuse. That's why it's wrong, and that's why it's bad.
So is this now the argument? Wait, I didn't even think this before. Is this now the argument? Anytime you view any harmful content, so okay, now anytime you view any harmful content online, anything that could be perceived as causing a harm, you are now in part culpable for that harm because you are part of the algorithm. Dude, this is a criticism for the companies. It's not a criticism for the fucking consumers. That's insane. This is why I say you should put it on the distribution. It's what I say. The moral onus should be on the distribution. The responsibility is all on the distributor. Fucking crazy to imply that because you play into the algorithm for something, you're in part responsible for the harm it causes. So anyone who looked at any, like, I don't know, Lauren Southern content is in part responsible for Christchurch. All right. Okay. Cool. It's just nuts. It's so insane.
Bad. Finally, I want everyone to please remember before I leave tonight that lolly is not a protected form of free speech in the United States. It's only protected in the sense that you can go home with a notepad and pen and you can draw something weird, but it's not protected in the sense you can't buy it, you can't access it from other places, and you can't distribute it. And if you are doing that, then you are.
I don't think many. No, I don't think many people would say that. There are some maybe extremely retarded, like, you know, a neo-pro-nan accounts on Twitter that might say that, but broadly, people will not say that. No, even people who believe in the alt-right pipeline shit will not say that.
Committing a federal crime, and that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, check her out. She put the links in chat. She made it easy for you. Click those links,
Yeah.
right? And then click the subscribe, follow.
Very
whatever
niche,
button, right? Like, do it. Thank you.
Very,
for being here.
very
Really
niche.
appreciate it. And last, but certainly not least, Keldosh. Closing statement. Where can people find you?
Hey, so you can find me on a lot of different platforms under the same username. It's KELDOGE on everything. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Kick now. I stream on X. You can follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky. Basically, I just do political content. From a left libertarian perspective, I talk a lot about things that I've experienced in my life, such as like addiction and abuse, but I also just like to debate all kinds of topics. I'm a big free speech advocate. If you ever want to come on and debate me, you are absolutely free to. I'm doing call-ins after this panel, actually. And yeah, so come check me out. I've also got a coffee. If you've liked my arguments today and you want to support me, you can go to my coffee and give me a donation. That would be awesome. As a closing statement, I just want to make that, you know, going back to the comparison to video games, I think it's interesting that we need to go around in order to tie abusive behavior to lolicon, but we don't accept that for video games. For example, you know, there have been people that have gone and like shot up schools that played a lot of violent video games. And again, there's several different factors there, right? It's not just the video games. But with lolicon, we need to go around. We can't draw that direct factor in the same way we can draw it to video games. That doesn't mean that it's not gross or that it's moral or that it should be promoted. But I just don't think that we should do feels over reels here, regardless of how disgusting it is. And you are free to debate me afterwards if you disagree.
Thank you for being here. Brittany Simon, thank you for the raid. Welcome to the stream. You just missed the panel portion. We are in the call-in portion. So if you have thoughts on Vosh or Lolly and you wanna sound off, get in that Discord. Jump backstage. We'll pull you in and we'll see what you have to see. Couple super chats before I let you all free. $2 from Parallax. Tell Joe 0 people want to watch his anime shit. There you go. Thank you for the $2. $5 from Cryborn to say FQ and Malcolm W. Thank you for the $5. Now, you were released if you want to go, but we got a bunch of callers that want to talk to y'all. So if you'd like to stay, please, you're welcome to stay. Let's bring in, I think I know the order here, right? We're going to try to get it in order, but we're going to be brief. We're going to bring you on. We're going to have concise conversations, and then we're going to make room. So that's what we're going to do. Let's bring in the next person. You're up. Mando, you're live. What you got?
Hey, what up, Whick?
Yo, you're live. What you got for the panel?
I have a question in regards to, just one question. I have a question for Joe. I want to point something out about what you said about AI. First off, AI are trained using specific images. And what AI draw is based on the keywords that a human enters. So what you get from an AI might be what an AI chooses to draw, but it's choosing to draw what it's drawing based on your keywords that you are inputting and the images that have been fed into it to train it on how to draw what it's drawing. That's number one. Number two, your Berserk take is kind of baffling that you think Berserk is all about sexual assault, et cetera, et cetera. It's 350 chapters, and you only want to talk about like the 2 or 3 chapters that actually have those situations happen.
Oh, this is Stylo's. Is this one of? This is Stylo's brother, isn't it? Coming in with the You know, Berserk isn't actually all about rape. It's not. It's not the rape manga. It's just a stupid meme that everyone repeats. Starlo's brother coming in.
Mike, if you just give me a sec. Do you have any other questions?
We're gonna keep it to that. He may.
What are you
but I'm not
question
gonna get to
marking?
answer, ask them because we gotta keep.
Yeah,
it
we
to
got a lot
the
of people in the chat, so
Yeah.
hurry up, Joe.
Okay. So first of all, the AI, the training on image thing is completely correct. But the word thing, I think that's kind of goes into my point, which is, for example, pubic hair would not appear unless you really pushed it to draw pubic hair. Similarly, it's producing lots of women who look sort of Asian. And this is not people asking for Asian women. It's just obvious that it's kind of being fed that. It's either being fed that or whatever it uses to decide what people want is what's getting it to do that. The thing about saying that AI is just giving people what they want from requests is that the AI doesn't just look at a word and exactly translate that word. It basically looks at the word, and then it's usually got tons of words, and then it kind of tries to figure out what the best image would be. Which
Yeah,
is
that's a part of the training, right? That would be
which is
part
why
of the
you get all
training,
these weird mutations.
Okay.
But the point is, just with the pubic hair thing, is that AI naturally assumes women shouldn't have pubic hair, which is kind of worrying. But that was kind of my point there. The Berserk thing, I'm sorry, but Berserk, first of all, it's not one or two chapters. You get points where it's just like nearly a whole solid chapter of just a woman being raped in various positions. There's tons of images which are hypersexualized in the way they're drawn. Clearly, there's literal, I mean, we bring up horses, that's in there too. Big horse with big cock towering over a woman. There's so many moments like that, and it's clearly drawn to be erotic, which is, I don't really, like I've said, I don't think this stuff should be illegal. It just annoys me that a lot of the Berserk base will pretend it's not there when it's clearly both drawn to be erotic and also, I mean, Koska gets nearly raped like 6 times. Like, you've got a section where she's being grabbed by some demon, and it's got like a massive. My point is, there's so much of it. I think saying it's just 1 or 2 moments. It's nowhere comparable to something like Game of Thrones, which is way milder and way more normal.
But Casca that only happened to Casca once, and that was in the golden age.
Okay.
That was early on in the story.
I'm throwing a flag on the play. I'm throwing a flag on the play. I don't care about Berserk. Sorry, Mando.
Okay, you
I
can
don't
always
care about
make
Berserk.
on it if you
Thank you,
want.
Whick.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Whick.
Okay, please. Question for the panel involving the topic. Right, the AI thing was fair, but let's stick to the lolly. Let's stick to Bosch, okay? Or other creators that have credible accusations. Let's bring on the next contestant on whatever this is. I think it was this. Taiga.
Hi, you can call me Alex. Yeah.
Alex,
This is just
okay. What you got for us?
So question for the panel. I was only watching for like the last 50 minutes or so I wasn't able to catch the whole thing. But, oh shoot, I'm nervous. Sorry, 1 second.
We aren't scary. Take your time. What you got for us?
One of the big problems with me with Vosh and his presentation of like him like having things in his sorted to file is that like in the same picture we can see that there's multiple folders of like porn, you know, like we might not know what's inside those folders, but we know that there's porn in them based off of like the thumbnails in the folders, and you can see that there's more lolly in there. So we can already see like Vosh is not consistent with the fact that like, oh, like I'm just accidentally stumbling upon like lolly porn. So I don't think it's wrong to be harsh.
This
on
is
someone
ground to a
who is,
halt.
like
Callers fucking suck. Holy shit, let's skip in.
In terms of what's in his porn folder, I mean, I don't know, and I don't want to know, and I also don't think that it's correct to make a ton of assumptions either, because we don't know. I mean, like I said, you can speculate, but that's just conjecture.
Yeah,
so we
that's
need to be really careful with like what we're doing with conjecture, right? Because there is a possibility that like such conjecture would be wrong, and then you have situations like the example that I brought up where this guy had, he only had lolly. He didn't have any actual child pornography. He still did like 3 years prison time. I think that's pretty authoritarian. So I mean, maybe I think a better solution there would be like a rehabilitation program or some kind of mandatory therapy, not 3 years in prison where he can go learn how to offend more severely from other, inmates.
So a couple of things. A couple of things to address from that. So regarding the rehabilitation point, I'm not sure if not everyone agrees with me on this. My understanding is that the most effective form of therapy is actually chemical castration.
Scott here. What's this panel about? Should we be nicer to lolicons? Is the theme of the panel, I believe.
We call it therapy, but really what it is the administration of, I think Lupron is one of the drugs. That's usually like when they say therapy for sex offenders, that's typically what they mean. Now there is some types of CBT that you can be involved in, but just so everyone is aware, when you look at the actual recidivism rates for child sex offenders specifically, they, in comparison to other types of violent crime, are relatively low. So I think this was according to the Office of Justice. When you
is that true?
The average rate.
I thought it was really high.
therapy, but really what it is the administration of, I think Lupron is one of the drugs. That's usually like when they say therapy for sex offenders, that's typically what they mean. Now there is some types of CBT that you can be involved in, but just so everyone is aware, when you look at the actual recidivism rates for child sex offenders specifically, they, in comparison to other types of violent crime, are relatively low. So I think this was according to the Office of Justice. When you look up the average rate of
I thought it was
reoffense
the
after
opposite.
3 years
I
for
thought
a
it was
child
the
sexual
opposite.
offender is about 5%. That means that 95% of the
Hold on
people
a
that
second.
are arrested after 3 years. Now that rate does increase over time. So at about 20 years post that, the rate increases to about roughly 24%. But that's still, if we're talking about, and I agree with you, that's still far too many, and you would be right. But when we're thinking about rehabilitation and what that means, what it means is, frankly, drugs. It means chemicals. It means chemical castration. So that's the first thing.
I just want you to clarify.
regarding
Though, you're talking about like actual offenders though, not just people that look at Lolicon and nothing else. Like that study.
Right, but the reason like why the Lolicon matters because of the report that I told you about before from the FBI, which is that when people have folders where they are downloading images of child erotica, a lot of child erotica, that is a sign that they more than likely are that they are likely to offend against children, or they're likely to be a pedophile. That's something that they consistently find, and I'm not even just talking
Yeah, I
about
mean,
like
it's just machine gunning stats. I mean, it's just impossible to engage with because there's no way to dig into the like exactly what the methodology is, if it's actually, you know, yeah, is relevant to the point being made when you actually look at what the study was looking at. It's this why I fucking hate this debate so much. Why can't they just argue the ideology? It's so gay.
Literal horrific lolly. I'm talking about collecting toys, collecting books, collecting clothes, collecting
Funko
weird
Pops,
examples.
anime.
Well, strange types of paraphernalia that they will deliberately hoard and keep as shrines within their homes so that they can access it freely at will without potentially being caught online. That's why they download it. So, like when we're talking specifically.
Oh yeah. I know. Whoops. Yeah, you mean like this, right? You mean like this? What a bunch of fucking pedophiles.
Your blog page is
Look
waste
at
when
these
you know
fucking
the
pedophiles, dude. Look at these fucking look at them with their shrines. These fucking pedophiles. Look at these fucking pedophiles, dude. Disgusting.
About like why FQ, why this specifically matters. It matters because it's a sign. And I want to say one more thing. I think that I want to piggyback off something that Malcolm said earlier, which is really true too. Folks, when you are out in the world and you are trying to make decisions about who is safe to bring and to introduce to your family, who is safe to bring to your friend group, who is safe to come and babysit your children, who do you want to invite to Christmas dinner, who do you want to be in your server, who do you want to interact with online? When you're asking yourself these questions, okay, I think it's a ridiculous standard that we have to wait to actually see them assault someone before we say, oh, this person seems to be like a predatory individual who I probably shouldn't be associated with. That's an absurd amount of standard. It's not just what. So the report says it's not just having one thing. It's about having huge, absurd amounts of this type of material like throughout your home. That's what the report said, specifically. And again, like I can post the report if other people would like to see.
Can I have the report too?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Do you have the
I was
report?
just gonna.
Tell
I was
us you
gonna say
finish, and we're gonna get to the next caller. So.
Yeah, no, it's just really quickly. I was just saying though, in terms of rehabilitation, though, I would think that there's definitely like more effective methods for people that haven't
chemical
offended.
castration?
No, because you're talking about people that have offended, though. I'm talking about people that haven't offended. These are two very different things, okay? Like, I just want that to be known.
Even if they haven't gone into treatment, you can't just like switch them out of what their sexual interests are.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for calling in, Alex. I really appreciate you. Have a great night. Oops. Okay. Next on the list, Rashad, you're live. Oh, he's deafened. Come on, Rashad.
Uh-oh.
Come on, Rashad. What are you doing? Oh, there he is. Undeafen yourself. You got it. You did it to yourself, brother. You can't even hear me. I don't know why I'm yelling at you.
Yo, chill.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I was DMing you. Okay.
Chill. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, what you got for us?
All right.
Bro, how do you watch this?
I wanted to ask. I'm not sure if this is an
Isn't it so
appropriate question.
distracting?
Hey, what? Are you in here, bro? Where the fuck did you come from?
Dude, I've been here for 20 minutes.
No shot.
Kidding.
Yeah,
But
I
how
was
do you-
gonna say.
So it's like distracting. Like this guy's got like one tooth in his mouth. How do you watch this guy?
Well, you know,
Holy
I'm not
shit.
looking at the screen for this, so I try not to see Whick where I can avoid
Dude,
it.
I cannot look away. It's just like a train wreck of dental hygiene. Like I don't understand what the fuck is
I
going on.
am lost as to where the money that he gets from streaming or Progressive Victory is going because he says he's paid off his mortgage, he's had the GoFundMe, his mic set up, his mic hasn't improved, his webcam
Motherfucker's got like, you know how like
his set hasn't improved. I don't
you see,
know
like,
where
all
it's
the
going.
archetype Wick people, right? Like the like weird looking older dude streaming
Yeah.
or whatever. They're like their rooms are filled with toys. This guy's got like one action figure on like an empty shelf.
He claims it
behind
comes
him.
from his nephew. He said it comes from his. It's not his. It comes from his nephew. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
he wishes he had the toys Tipster has in his room. Okay.
Dude, this guy
It's
wishes he was
so
just
over.
as successful and entertaining as Tipster. Like that's the level
Oh,
we're
yes.
at.
Yes, 100%. He wishes he was. Honestly, he wishes he could defend. No, I'm kidding.
What did you come in for anyway? Was it
I
just
don't know.
to shit on Wick?
I just
or-
clicked on your stream and I saw Wick, and I got angry. I had to talk
Oh,
about
you
it.
just got viscerally disgusted.
I
by
was just
the-
fucking like
the
grossed
sight
out.
of
This is what I
Wick.
was watching
Yeah,
right now. I could
yeah,
I could
so-
just smell the bought political opinions emanating from around the stream.
Oh man, have you ever been invited on a Wick panel? Would you ever go on a Wick panel?
No, dude. I would just
Ah.
insult his teeth and get thrown off.
Turkey Tom went on a couple, didn't he? I think.
I only really ever did the Stardust panels. I did Zerka's show one time. I never did.
You
do
did a
Prime
Mr. Girl
Guys.
interview. You did a Mr. Girl interview.
I did no, yeah, but I'm talking panel shows.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
For I've done tons and tons of one-on-one
Twitch Bowl, yeah,
conversations.
yeah.
But no, with panel show, I don't like panel. Like I like panels when we're discussing shit. I don't like game shows. I was invited on Kick or Keep twice. I don't.
I'm
like
I meant to be going on
that.
Kick Keep this week, I believe. So
It's just it's not my thing. I don't know. I feel like I do like a lot of stuff well. I just feel like I don't do game shows well.
I've
and I
been
feel,
very
weird at them.
outspoken that I hate like mechanics and game elements on panel shows. It's like a pet hate of mine. Like Tom Foolery had this panel called like the Shootout, where he had this really convoluted set of rules that was basically just. Do you remember when Dylan Burns used to do Cage Match on Hippy Dippy?
Yeah.
It was basically just that, but with like you have like bullets and you can only do it at certain times with certain people and all this shit. And it was like a bunch of qualifiers that nobody understood.
And then no one
everyone was
understands it, and they
everyone
fuck
was
it all up,
always
and it's
using
like,
it
wait,
wrong.
wait, actually,
yeah,
no,
you
you
explain it
understand
6
the
times per
rules
panel.
are-
It's
oh.
half the runtime of the show. It's
Yeah,
fucking awful. It's absolutely
I liked
nightmarish.
Hippy Dippy. If I knew anything about politics, I would have loved to have gone on there. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was really the extent of it. The Stardust panels were fun because we would get into like Vosh would just show up and we would argue about whether pizza delivery man had harder jobs than police officers, and that would always enthrall me for a little while. Because even if I'm not like educated on current political issues, like I can at least engage with that conversation because it just.
There was so much more life in the panel shit when you could have like a Vosh or a Destiny just drop in midway through if a topic was interesting enough, but it just doesn't fucking happen anymore. So
No, I remember that it was Vosh, and then Stardust like had Vosh on there. I guess they were friendly, and then railroaded Vosh with Destiny.
yeah.
It was great content though.
Also, the Fuentes panels with Stardust were fucking hilarious too.
Yeah,
was when-
she
that was
started just having
the-
everybody on. I thought that was pretty
that was
cool.
the
'cause everyone
rare
was like, "You
period
can't
where
do that," and
Stardust
she's like,
had the occasional
"Yeah."
banger stream, and I was like, damn, okay, fair enough.
You
It's
can't
pretty.
do that. Oh yeah, I'll bring Richard Spencer on every day this week. It'll be Richard week on the Stardust show.
Well, the Richard Spencer ones were fucking awful. Those were awful conversations.
I just
That
like
was-
how she would just bring on like literally anybody. Oh, you can't bring on that person? That's fine. I'll do 5 streams with them. Let's go. Like, let's just do it.
Yeah, I just wish she could stand on it and say I just don't give a fuck, but she doesn't. She tries to give this whole I push back. And it's like, well, yeah, like a kick dog pushes back maybe, but
I'm gonna do like a ultimate rape review on the Wilbur Suit guy.
oh,
What is your initial read? Because I don't know really.
I haven't
anything
followed
about
it like crazy close. I watched like Chad go over it and Jay Stalk go over it, but I haven't like looked into it
Oh,
myself.
you've seen more than me then.
Without a bias, without a narration going over it. It seemed to me like basically it's going to come down to 2 things, which is where do you put the line for abuse, and do you interpret this biting thing as a playful sort of like quirk of the relationship, or as a sort of compulsive or habitual behavior that this Wilbur Soot guy has that was sometimes violent. And that's basically your read on those 2 things. Seems like it determines like the entire thing. And obviously the soy Twitter lefty Minecraft YouTube non-binary
those
Twitter
people in
artists are
particular,
all gonna be fucking crazy. That's always gonna be the case.
I've noticed a quirk in myself that I need to look out for more. When it's like I see a lot of retarded Minecraft people on Twitter, and I guess this goes for like a lot of different communities, but this time it's Minecraft, where they make such outrageously bad arguments that it almost reshapes my opinion of the actual drama. Like I'm more inclined to defend this person because
Because of the
someone on
retarded shit
Twitter
they're saying,
said
yeah.
like, and it's like I feel like I have to because the whole internet's against this person sometimes. But then it's like, is this Wilbur Soot guy really someone I want to hang on the cross for? The guy who came back and was like, hey guys, I just want to let everyone know that everything she's feeling is valid, and I went to therapy for the things that I did. And then like 2 paragraphs later, he comes back and he goes, by the way, I thought all the biting stuff was like consensual or whatever. Like, do I really want to put my neck out for a guy who like wrote some tone deaf shit like that? I don't know, man.
Okay, do we even right? It may have been received poorly, but I don't even believe that he wrote it. This is a 6 million sub YouTuber, no? Does he not just pay someone to write that for him? Does this guy not
Depends
have?
on how panicked he was.
Aren't his
I could
parents
see
like?
that.
It sounded like his parents were sort of like involved in his career. I feel like the deal with a lot of these sort of like young Minecraft guys that have come up.
Yeah,
is
my
they
point
are
is the
like child
statement
stars
didn't
in a
even-
way. They've got like management and shit like that.
That aside, I'm saying the statement that he made didn't even sound confident.
Sure.
Why would
I just
sound
my
confident in
perspective on
defending
these
him?
things is always just I find it more interesting to talk about, to have the arguments about, is this abuse, is this not abuse, than to be like, oh well, this personality kind of copped to it and said some stupid shit, so you know I don't want to put my reputation on it. I find it more interesting to just be like, yo, this argument you're making for why this abuse is kind of fucking retarded. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? That's more
I
interesting.
agree with
to me.
you. I
So,
agree with you, but then
that's
you
just why I
get lost
engage.
in like hypotheticals because I don't really know anything here. I just know the he said she said argument, and then I know like the claim. We don't even know if that's the reality of the situation. And I mean, every few I'll engage like that. Let's talk about the individual things that happen
So do
here.
you feel, is
But,
it a
like,
case
there's
where you
rape
feel
every
like the
day.
position where that you feel like you're in a position where, because the shit you do is like this, like commentary sort of summarizing the full issue and the news around it and the facts and all, doing the journalism part, do you feel like that puts you in a position where you can't do the hypothetical shit because it feels like people are going to
No.
take it as though you're defending them on the facts?
No, not necessarily. That's why I do Ultimate Rape Review. It like layers it in a level of irony. So it's like I want people to realize I'm not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem with that, they can leave.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of the thing. It's like I
That's
don't
always
want
my
people
perspective on
who
this. If you're
expect
too
me to be a
autistic to tell when
journalist.
I'm joking, then I don't.
Well,
want
yeah,
you
but
fucking
now
watching.
there's no question about it. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what your journalistic integrity. Yeah, I run Rape Review. That's
Yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah,
my
yeah.
go-to now. When
Yeah.
anyone says it, it's like it's so obviously like parody levels of irony going on here that like you can't possibly think that I'm like a journalist. You can't make that mistake. But it's like we're on our like 5th rape of the month, and technically I'm talking about the month of March, even though it hasn't happened yet. Like there's gonna be like 400 rapes this year. If I do hypotheticals on every one, we'll never get past it. You know what I mean? We did all the hypotheticals with Camden, so I'm a little burnt out.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I left for like a day, and like new rape just dropped. Like there's just another rape in the community, another pedo to talk about.
If you look hard enough, there is a rape every day. Okay, you could literally run
Yeah,
a
but
rape review
an
all day,
influencer.
every day. Or, no, but I mean, with influencers, with like little Twitter
Oh.
people, or you know, all these.
You
sorts
miss
of things, people with
100% of the
followings.
rapes you don't take, dude.
Exactly.
It's
You never know when a rape is gonna blow up. I just saw that Lex Up Dog video. It had a few thousand views one night, and someone sent it to me and was like, "Cover this Super Mega stuff," and I was like, "Super Mega? Are those guys who run the podcast?" And I was thinking of Mega 64, which is a completely different thing. I covered it, and that ended up blowing up. So you never know when a rape's gonna blow up. You're right.
Yeah, that's funny though. I think there was another story I took like 3 days off and I missed 3 rapes. Like I'm not even kidding you. There was like another one and I don't even remember what it was, but it was like a big talking point while all the Hassan stuff was going on. Oh, you know what's a real rape? The Israel-Palestine discourse and how much I
Jesus
don't actually care about it. Holy fuck. I told everybody this last year. I made my point pretty easy on it. I don't know like a single trans person. Trans issues are not important to me. I don't want to do any debates about trans people. I'm not going to make my opinion about trans people. I'm just not going to talk about trans people because I don't care about trans people. That's my position on trans people. Right. That's my position on Israel-Palestine.
That's real.
I don't know a single Israeli. I don't know a single Palestinian.
Best
I don't
wishes to all
think about the
involved.
Middle
John
East
Lennon, Imagine.
online or offline. People are like, you got to give your take on it. Why? I don't think about Israel-Palestine offline. You think I should watch 15 live streams so I can give you someone else's informed opinion on what's happening right now?
Yeah.
Should I stop and watch like 5 hours of CNN coverage a day so I can go, hey guys, genocide is bad? Someone's like, oh, you're fence sitting Mudahar after the whole internet begged him to give a fucking stance on it. So his stance was understandably. Yeah, I think rape and killing children is wrong. Wow, what a pandery cope tweet. So you know what? This is my official position. I'll say it right here. I avow all of it. I honestly, all the murders, all the children killing, all of it. All right. I think that everyone in the Middle East
came on my stream to do this. I'd like to remind everyone.
I'm kidding. No, but it's like, what do you want from me? We can't both sides and say violence is bad or you're a cuck. What am I supposed to say, dude? Oh, you know what? I really found it cool when the Palestinians blew up those Jewish children. Like, what do you want from me, dude?
Yeah,
it's so stupid.
Have you seen the Sam Hyde Gaza to Zaza video?
No.
Oh
I don't.
God.
I haven't watched a lot of Sam Hyde, to be honest.
It's just a short that was on YouTube, man. Oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny. I gotta send you this shit. Where is it? Sam Hyde, Israel, Palestine.
But don't you like feel like that's what people want? They don't give a fuck what your actual opinion is. They just want you to say something so that everyone can like go, I knew that he said stuff like, I knew that was his opinion or whatever. Like, you can't please anyone. There's no one to please in this situation.
They just want you to cock out to their side, like, and just basically.
If you support the Palestinian, oh well, guess what? You hate Jews. If you support the Jewish people, then it's like, oh, okay, you want children to die. It's like, fuck.
It's like this with every time a war rolls around. It's always like.
What do you want me to be like? Oh, Kuihman, I want a 2-state solution that nobody in the fucking region wants. I believe in the 2-state solution that's never gonna fucking happen.
Can't they just all get along?
Yeah, they can all get along when one side kills the other side. And until that happens, which it won't, we're going to have 50 to 100 years of suffering in the Middle East, all right? Does that make you feel good? Was that the answer you wanted? It's going to be bad. People are going to die. It sucks and it's sad, and I don't want to think about it. All right, let me see this.
I'll play it for stream at the same time.
Okay.
Yo, Israel and Palestine, y'all need to stay in your lane. Fix my chopped cheese and my phone screen, you hood.
This war shit got me hella tight. Them Jewish cats really hopping off the porch. I seen that shit on Twitter.
I do not discriminate. If you got weed or pussy, we partying. Yo, babe, what's the IDF? How about IDFC?
I don't freaking care. Them J-boys really turning Gaza to Zaza. Smokes.
How y'all gonna praise Mohammed but make no profits? Yo, Ben Shapiro, stop posting pictures of charred brisket. That ish weird, bruh.
They really out here shooting them guns.
I don't know what's gonna happen next, but they straight up gonna kill that Rogers and Linsky cat.
Need me some Iron Dome.
Put a Hebrew Frank in a gyro rap.
Make love, not war. Who should we support in the war? DM below.
My life matters. That's great.
It's so good, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
I've made so much money off of that short. I was charging $20 to have it played on my stream. I made about $120. I think off of it.
Dude, but I do think the guy who burned himself to death has really like upped the level of what it takes to be an activist. All right. Listen, there are all these streamers right now who are like, listen, we have to support Palestine, right? But what are they actually doing? All right?
They're not setting themselves on fire. That's a fucking sure.
So I haven't seen fucking Frogan even flick a match. You know, like I don't know. Like, do you really give a fuck about Palestine, Frogan? Like, really? Denims? Like,
Mike,
yeah, okay. I think that you're actually an IDF supporter.
Until
you prove otherwise, you're an IDF supporter, Frogan.
I'm starting to question. In fact, all these people on Twitter, anyone with they, them pronouns on their name and a Palestine flag, I'm starting to really question your commitment to the cause, okay?
Dude, people are like, oh, you guys, well, I don't really condone what happened there, but like, you know, it's like, it's really sad how it's got to this point. It's like, why? The only people, why don't you condone that? You mean all the annoying people on Twitter might set themselves on fire if I retweet this? Are you fucking kidding me? That's great.
Oh, man.
You mean every person who's begging me to talk about a cause I don't care about is like literally seconds away from setting themselves ablaze? Oh, shit, dude. I totally disavow. Like,
oh, man. I've got you turn on my position now. Send tweet.
Oh fuck, dude. I see everyone's going after Destiny again. I saw one guy say, and I know you're not gonna like this joke, but I saw one guy go, there's a reason why I hate Destiny more than Vosh and Hassan. It's like Vosh got caught with like a horse fucking a child last week, and Destiny tweeted out, "Ha ha, the guy burned to death" or whatever, and you're looking at that and you're like, "Yeah, that Destiny guy sucks." Like, what are you talking about, dude? Are you kidding me? Oh god. That whole community. To be honest, Destiny is the one to blame. He did create every single horrible person in Twitch. You got to look at it as a triangle with like Destiny on the top. Left or right, you're fucked. All right. If you go on the left side, it's all the debate bros, right? So you got your Vosh, and then Vosh had like Destiny had like a retarded child that was Vosh, and that retarded child fucked like a horse and made Demon Mama. Okay. And Demon Mama fucked like a squirrel, and that created like Tipster. Okay. Now, like on the right side, it's the non-debate bros. So like Destiny, like, I don't know, dude, fucked like a trust fund. Okay. And then created Hassan Piker. And then Hassan Piker just like created like Denims and Mike from PA, and then sprouted a tumor, and that became Frogan.
Do you know about the Will in his channel lore?
Didn't that guy like make a video or something, and then everyone liked him, and then he got into like a schizophrenic fight with Chud Logic, and now everyone hates him. That's what I know.
Kind of. So basically, yeah, he made a video on this guy called Extreme Dad who was falsely accused of being a pedo by Vosh and Zandhall and shit. Everyone liked him for that. But then later on, he makes this 30,000 view video called "The Feudal Hierarchy of Online Politics," where he tells the story of Destiny, Mr. Girl, and Nick Fuentes as if they were feudal lords of kingdoms in the online politics space. And it's very embarrassing and very cringe. But yeah, it just vaguely reminded me of that stuff you're saying there. But it's just very funny because he got hired by Progressive Victory, I believe, to do like a little documentary and some photo shooting for their canvassing event in Ohio recently. And it seems the vibe I get is that he's tried to work some of that video into like his photo shoots, because he's taken pictures like I'll just send this over. Just there's this picture here where it sort of looks like he's got it.
Oh, what is that?
He's got like Destiny sort of like in his sweatpants on his throne.
Destiny's where he's literally sitting in my
his concubines on his arms, just like it's just so bizarre.
By the way, this doesn't even look like this was made by he's a photographer. This looks like, hey dude, let's all stand around the chair and take a picture with the boys. Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not even like set correctly. Like one of them's all the way off to the right. It makes, I don't know what the fuck.
Well, yeah, I mean, Will was just sort of like, I think he was like a sound technician.
By the way, you mentioned Extreme Dad. So. Did you ever see my debate with Extreme Dad?
I don't think so. When was that?
Well, I wasn't there.
Oh.
He called in to say that I was like a huge piece of shit, and I like created Xander Hall to Tommy C's stream, which I think that was what it was. It was some stupid thing like that. Right. But then Matt Pitt started playing a soundboard of my voice, and he's like, "Oh, okay, Nick's here," and it's like me going, "Okay," and he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'm coming after you, right? Like you're the reason all this is happening to me. You're the reason I got falsely accused." And then the soundboard goes, "Okay," and he goes, "Oh, you're just gonna say okay then?" Like, and he starts debating the soundboard of me, like I wasn't there.
Wait, how are you the reason that Extreme Dad got falsely accused? What?
I don't. He just called in Schizo posted.
Oh, yeah,
I think
that's Extreme.
We're cool or whatever, but like that was the funniest clip that ever came off of Tommy's show. It's like got into a full debate, and it's just like one of the sound bites was just me saying neighbor.
Oh,
and
dude.
He didn't realize that this was just Then this happened to Keemstar too. Like we were on a call. He was like, "Don't interrupt me." So then the soundboard guy started playing "Okay," and he goes, "See, he needs to say the last word in every sentence." And then the sound "Okay."
Oh man.
Okay, can somebody mute Nick? Like, dude, when they created the soundboard on Discord, they did not know what could like this. Listen to this one. This is a good one.
Daddy, spank me, Daddy.
You
fuck
played
me,
that
Daddy.
in the fucking debate the other day. I heard that shit. I was like, bro, what the fuck?
They're talking about lolly porn, and then it's like, Daddy.
Oh,
I want to suck your dick and have you blow off in my mouth, Daddy.
Jesus Christ.
All right, I'll let you get back to your shit. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted to
okay.
pop in and say hi. Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
All right,
Okay, chill
peace out.
All right. Wow. Random Nick DeOrio appearance. Let's go. Okay. Should we carry on the Wick stuff? I feel like the callers fucking sucked. We'll go back to it. Why not? We'll finish off some of it. We've got fuck all else to do.
Okay.
We're around here or some shit, weren't we? Unitip calls in? Yeah, but Unitip kind of fucking sucks. That sucks. $20 for Gaza to Zaza. Very true. Very true. Still stands, guys. Still stands.
Into this stuff people are, even outside of just.
We're going to next
I
week.
actually think that's a really
Dude, that is the
great
biggest
point.
grift
Yes,
of my
if I may.
life.
We are going to have a conversation about this next week.
Hey,
about
pay me $20
porn
and I'll sit here in silence while someone else's content plays for about a minute. Okay.
Is that really a thing? It
You
has
heard?
been contested on my show before. Fairy Queen and Erudite had a nice little back and forth about that. I think it warrants further discussion. So yes, I think it's a great question to ask, Rashad. And yeah, that's why we're going to be talking about it next week at some point.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you.
Can you mute the
Yeah,
stream?
I think if Vouch is saying 5 hours, that's an
Yeah,
addiction.
quite.
Absolutely agree with you.
Well, from my perspective, and that's what I think it is. I think that it is an addiction issue.
Hold up, I gotta click out because I can't hear you guys, and I gotta
so based.
play the stream in the back to hear you. So I'll just dip out and let someone else come in.
Oh, you can't hear? Okay. Well, I don't know why you can't hear us. We'll let you guys.
It's all good.
Gooning will be the follow.
And that's
the
my
answer to that question.
perception of it, is that it is an addiction thing and not a predatory thing in his case.
Yeah, I actually just did a talk on addiction at a college regarding not pornography, but more how social media apps work. But I would say actually that's a good reason to have a porn folder, so you don't have to go looking.
I mean, I mentioned this like in our back and forth between Erudite, like, and I disagree with the idea that sex addiction or porn addiction is real. And I actually think that it's dangerous to victims and to people to say and to promote the idea that it's real, because the consequence of promoting that it's
You can
real
be
is
addicted to anything.
I think
Like-
it's not only does the APA not only did the APA remove hypersexual disorder from the DSM-5 and remove any mention of porn addiction like from the DSM-5, which was previously like at least referred to in the DSM-4, but on top of that, there is evidence that people have tried to use the excuse of porn addiction or sex addiction for sex offenders, like when they are convicted in court. And so the concern is that if we normalize the idea that sex addiction.
Oh my god. Okay, here we go.
John Sanchez super chatted $20. $20 from John Sanchez. Fix my chopped cheese and my phone screen. Ya heart?
Thank you for the $20. Thank you for the $20, John Sanchez. Time for Gaza to Zaza. Let's go.
Yo, Israel and Palestine, y'all need to stay in your lane. Fix my chopped cheese and my phone screen, you hood.
This war shit got me hella tight. Them Jewish cats really hopping off the porch. I seen that shit on Twitter.
I do not discriminate. If you got weed or pussy, we partying. Yo, babe, what's the IDF? How about IDFC?
I don't freaking care. Them J-boys really turning Gaza to Zaza. Smokes.
How y'all gonna praise Mohammed but make no profits? Yo, Ben Shapiro, stop posting pictures of charred brisket. That ish weird, bruh.
They really out here shooting them guns.
I don't know what's gonna happen next, but they straight up gonna kill that Rogers and Linsky cat.
Need me some Iron Dome.
Put a Hebrew Frank in a gyro wrap.
Make love, not war. Who should we support in the war? DM below.
Thank you for the $20, John Sanchez.
and pornography addiction is real, that if you find somebody that does have pornography like this on their computer, that does have child pornography or has a history of assaulting children, when they are convicted, they will simply say, I had a sex addiction. I had a pornography addiction. I was compelled
Yeah,
beyond my
that's
ability
the
to free
issue
will.
with it. That's
Yeah.
like the big issue with it, where like you could say that there's like addictive qualities to consuming pornography, especially when it gets to the point where it like interacts with your ability to like function, like day to day or whatever. But like you can be addicted to porn without like yoinking it to like inappropriate pornographic material. So like that excuse doesn't even fucking work in this situation, right?
I'm
I
not
think the
even
thing
saying
is
it's
you
a porn addiction specifically. You can develop addiction to anything. So I'm
yes.
not.
Not your authentic YouTube short. No, you're right. It was a different upload, but it has an extra cut in it, right? It has the extra line in it where he says, "Put a Hebrew Frank in a gyro rap." That's the extra line out of nowhere. I don't know why there's two versions. Very strange.
Necessarily saying it's porn specifically. I think that in his case, it's become very habitual. So it's not that like it's the porn. It's probably
So
I don't know.
I have
To speculate, probably something to have to do with ADHD. But
I
Well, I mean,
have
if you
I
use
have
it,
I think we are probably ready to start finishing up soon. Anyway, this is pretty painful to watch right now. I'm gonna be honest. We'll try and get through it. We'll try and get through it if I can.
literally
thought of
downloading
this
real
and I'd like
CP,
to
that would
share.
probably be a fucking issue.
I think
well,
he's
he's
a good example
as far as we know, he
porn.
Is this
hasn't.
thing on?
That's,
Can you
that was
hear
a
me?
hypothetical
Wait,
question.
was the brisket not censored there?
Can you guys hear me? Am
Yes,
I
I
allowed to
can
speak
hear
on
you.
my panel? I hope I am.
Oh,
$2 from
maybe
Fondue.
it's
Say where can I
censored
find
for a
Fair Queen studies
reason.
again?
Maybe I should
Fair Queen, can you just link
private
them in my
log
YouTube
my
chat for Fondue?
Sure. I have a
For
lot
sure.
of actually, you know what I'll do? If you're in Wick's Discord, don't you have like a research
I do. Put them
chat?
there.
Because I have a lot of like links. I'll dump
Absolutely.
them all there, like at the end of the stream. Is what
Absolutely.
I'll do.
To the point though, I think that the reason a lot of people are hesitant, such as Fair
Well,
Queen,
that's
are
on
hesitant
YouTube,
towards
unage restricted.
an addiction, is because
That doesn't
especially
make
in more
very
left-leaning
much sense.
spaces, we tend to excuse bad actions. We use it as an excuse or a shield, really, to excuse bad actions. Now, I don't think that's enough of a reason to not acknowledge that there might be a possible.
Oh, it was an actual brisket, not the actual burnt baby. Ah, okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't actually look at it. Yeah, okay. Alright, I thought you were calling it the brisket in
addiction
reference to
there,
the
because
baby.
even if you are addicted to something, I don't think that should excuse or lessen, right, the action that you did. It still should be, you should still have consequences, and they should still
I don't
fit the
disagree with that at
crime.
all.
Now that said, right, I am not a doctor or a licensed professional. I don't know if it's actually an addiction or not. That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about the subject, and talk about porn in general and how harmful or benign porn in general is. I think it's an excellent.
Yeah, these call-ins suck. This is quickly on boring. The Joe guy is not shining right now.
People who are consuming it to higher ethical standards, but also higher like standards for their own personal growth. I want to know what's going on with the space, whether or not it's this one or other spaces where we're talking about the technicalities of whether or not something is going to eventually, via 1 to 7 degrees of separation, cause a child harm. If I have a friend that's watching Lolly, they're a porn addict. If I have a friend that is smoking drugs, they're a drug addict. I'm not going to be like, oh,
Well,
that's fine.
No, not necessarily, right? What? What? Huh?
Your addiction is a mental problem that needs help. I'm going to say, do something about it or I'm not.
Wait, what's this retard talking about? Sorry, guys, if you see a user called Velasca, please be aware this is a zoophile. This is a zoophile who draws... Sorry, doesn't draw. He doesn't like that false allegation. He writes the text for a furry sex roleplay game. This is a animal fucker. It's an animal fucker. So if he says that I have some weird likes, please be aware that is who this is coming from. Reminder that Velasca is a gross, and he works for a game that sexualizes animals. That is disgusting. Is disgusting. He is a freak. Weird likes. Literally when. Literally when.
Not your friend. I'm not supporting you. I'm not spending time with it. And I'm certainly not going to be going online defending strangers who are influencing tens of thousands of people, many of which are trans and children, into becoming more and more addicted to pornography, more and more isolated and sexually dysfunctional. What is the ultimate point of defending Lolly?
Question for you, Tuna. Do you think
Go
that
for it.
Charles Manson was entitled to a defense lawyer?
I think Charles Manson. For the consistency of the court, yeah, because we have like a legal body. A legal body is a lot different in my opinion.
I
But yeah,
understand.
we can keep going.
Yes,
But yeah, we need
that would be
evidence. We need to take it
that
for
would
a
be
trial.
that would be the parallel I would draw. And yes, there are differences. This is an illegal court, etc. But accusations come out all the time, right? Some have more weight than others. We can look at the whole Mama Max drama. He made tons of accusations, right? That people just accepted. No one wanted to stick up for the people he accused, right? No one did. And later on, it came out that those accusations were false. And so,
Sure.
right,
Okay.
and so, wouldn't it have been nice? Wouldn't it have been nice? I guess I would ask, would you have given that same speech to the people who would stick up for the people that Mama Max accused? Would you have given that same speech at that same time?
No, because I think it's false equivalency. We're not defending individuals, asking whether or not they have done the thing. We are currently broad scale arguing whether the thing they've done, which is confirmed to have been done, is even that bad of a thing. Am I going to go to court and say, hey, listen, he killed the guy, but is murder really that bad? He stole from the guy, but don't you? Why are we going to try this guy for murder when Joe Biden is supporting a genocide in Palestine? You're not going to go after like this argument in favor of the crime itself. Like, do we need to prove that somebody has done something? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I've
Do we
missed
need
something,
to
but I don't know what
defend
Blood is
the
yapping
action in this
about.
rigorous-
I'm struggling to engage with this content. It might be time to start winding down the stream. This is just yapping upon yapping. I need Joe to talk more. Okay, let's give it a few more minutes. I'll try and figure out, like, yeah, you shouldn't just say, well, these other people are doing this thing, so it's not that bad. Yeah, okay, sure.
way when it's pretty clear cut whether or not something is like submoral. I'm not here in a court even. I'm asking, why are we defending the thing that is agreed to be bad?
Responses? Mic drop?
Okay, yeah, sure, I'll go. Okay, first of all, I'm in here not because I follow the streamer stuff. I personally think kids shouldn't be following any streamers. There are better things for kids to do. But as for Lolly, well, I came in mostly because I think whataboutism is actually important. It is worth pointing out that there are probably people very much like screaming about Lolly who would accidentally jerk off to a 15-year-old on Pornhub. It's worth bringing this stuff up because it is actually a messy area.
What? Okay, no, that's a valid point. That's a valid point because that does show a contradiction because you're willing to consume things passively without thinking about the consequences of them, even when they're leading to a direct harm to an actual a minor. But you'll get on your high horse about someone consuming drawings. No, that's a valid point. Okay. I
would have liked to get.
Joe, but I've never jerked it to a 15-year-old.
You don't know that. He doesn't know that. Wick, you don't know that.
Would you know if you've jerked off to Pornhub? You wouldn't know if it was a 15-year-old or not. It's just a fact. You cannot. There's all these issues.
No, you're talking about a confirmation of the fact. But why is somebody jerking off to something that they themselves believe it to be ambiguous whether or not someone is 15?
Look at him fucking angrily putting something into his maw. Look at him angrily nibbling. Let's get high def on this shit. Fucking zoom in.
Confirmation of the fact, but why is somebody jerking off to something that they themselves
he's fucking, what's he picking up there? A little cake or something?
believe it to be ambiguous?
Look at the way he fucking slides that into the back of his jaw, dude. Look at the way he puts that right in the back of his mouth to be compacted, to be churned up by this fucking arcane contraption.
Whether or not someone is 15. If you
look at that. Oh, look at the way he bites into it.
To something that they themselves believe it to be ambiguous whether or not someone is 15. If you
look at him peeling it off.
Off to something that they themselves believe it to be ambiguous whether or not someone is 15. If you are jerking off to, I want to make a good point. If you are uncomfortable with the thing that you are jerking off to, stop.
Well,
if it's ambiguous, stop.
The thing is, with what Vosh was looking at, the image I saw, which was two girls holding what looked like a bucket and a horse ejaculating into it, I just laugh. I'm sorry, I find it really weird and bizarre.
You're looking at a porn addict. You're looking at a porn addict, though, and this is important. A porn addict that understands deep porn terminology, but for some reason wants to claim that he can't tell when something looks prepubescent.
Well, I think the thing with
why are we buying that?
Vosh, in my opinion, is a hypocrite. But I also cannot look at it and go, oh my God, this guy's going to molest children. It's too weird for that. It's why I brought up the stats on all the people jerking off to ponies at the start. Like, a lot of this stuff is very bizarre and confusing, which is why I don't want to just throw him in and go, oh, he just wants to fuck a kid. It seems more like he's developed some bizarre fetish. I thought the horse thing was a joke. I find it funny, but it turns out it's not.
Okay. There are things other than molesting children that are bad. And one of
This
them would
guy's
be
so
popularizing
based.
addiction to pornography to such a degree that you are consuming extremely dysfunctional content. Whether we're talking about jokes about the horse thing or these My Little Pony things or anything of that matter, when you're a person like that, why is it that this is a very influential figure with a lot of people that are already clearly communicating that they are dealing with various sexual dysfunctions? He's
Oh, sorry, I missed Doobie Donuts. I had to skip one because it was it had the word death in it, and Nick DeOrio was on, and I couldn't focus on it to censor it while I was reading it out. Okay, so I'm gonna just go over the 2 donos that I missed. I hope death by certainty. It was death of certainty. Was Wick's old name, so that joke doesn't quite work. Becomes a reality soon. Thank you, Doobie. Based of the Oreo, trans people don't. Doobie's just saying that he doesn't care about trans people, or their pronouns, or their feelings. That's okay, Doobie. That's okay. Thank you for the $5 or the $10 in total. Thank you very much.
And this is most clear. He tries to reach out to a lot of despondent youth, incel.
I'm sorry, I had to skip your first dono. That one actually wasn't that bad. You were quite subtle with that first one, with the death by certainty. That's not too bad of a one. But obviously I didn't have time on the fly when I've got someone on to to censor it.
We have a lot of people inside his community. They're saying, I used to be an incel. He pulled me over. What is he pulling them over to?
Well, you'll have to answer that because I don't watch Vosh or many
Pedophilia.
series in general.
That's the answer. Pedophilia and degeneracy. An absolute lack of concern for the nuances of sexual function.
Well, here's the thing. What's basically happened is he's been caught. He's been caught red-handed with really bizarre pornography on his system. This is more of equivalent of it's like when an actor acts high and mighty and then they get caught, like say they grope someone or something. In my opinion, worse than what Vosh did, but that's me.
It's the anti-gay Republican sucking cock in a bathroom incident all over again. But even worse, it's kind of like a little Kevin Spacey pill. We are talking about children, the most vulnerable, the most unnuanced. You can't, even with rape fantasies, you can engage in play. That we're talking about the most undefensible, and he's going to pretend that he can't see the fucking trees from the forest. That's a liar, sure. Why are we talking about the lie? Why are we not talking about the mass exposure of, like, I'm a popular, nuanced individual, so smart and everything? Sorry, guys. I didn't know that this was child depicted. I definitely thought that it was instead this entirely other thing that no one's ever heard of, that you'd have to be on a porn site for like $500 to understand.
I don't think short stack. Am I showing myself? Short stack goblins. I've been aware of short stack goblins for a long time. I wasn't surprised. I was not shocked by the introduction of goblins into the discourse.
That's what he said. Short stack, I believe.
Short stack goblin. Short stack. Oh, you know the way that goblins are. Oh, you guys know what goblin porn looks like. Clearly, everybody knows what I'm referencing. That indicates a very depraved culture that he's communicating, that he's cultivating.
To be clear, I had no idea what goblin porn was until SFO showed me. I regret.
You see, here's the thing: when you say goblin, I put that in the same weird because
short stack refers to women that are short but have exaggerated, like a secondary sex characteristics, right? So like massive thighs, tits, and ass. I believe. That's my understanding.
Has anyone seen any images? Because there's this anime called Dragon's Maid. I've never watched it because it looks awful, but for some reason it seems fairly popular. And some of the girls in that look like I said, like garden gnomes without a beard. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, like Rouge the Bat. Do we need to watch Hot Girl Heaven again? Do you guys need to be educated?
But then again, like the anime community.
I don't want to get bogged down in specific anime.
We're good. We're good. Stop giving us recommendations.
Yeah. Okay, Tuna. Closing thoughts, Tuna, and then we're gonna get to the next caller. And I'm sorry you couldn't make it again. Gang.
No, that's good. I got off the bus. I walked through a homeless encampment. You wouldn't even want to have heard the things that I heard in passing. Closing thoughts are: if you're going to be an influencer, you have to have a higher standard than just whether or not you're turning everybody into molesters, or if you're a molester. Like you're supposed to have some virtue about you.
Why? Why can't you just post videos online? Why is it that deep? Why can't you just be a weird freak who posts videos online and get some money out of it? Why is that so wrong? What's so wrong about that?
And you should have some virtue enforced amongst one creator to another. So defending what's virtuous about me, I would say go to therapy, stop masturbating to fucking cringe ass porn, fix your fucking sexual dysfunction, or God forbid, be a little discerning about what you share about it, because you don't want to spread your mutagen, your terrible brain. Anyway,
okay, thank you for being here, Tuna. Peace out.
Avoid me. See ya.
It's just very unbearable seeing people like die or whatever, man. Okay,
we got two more callers.
I'm not gonna do it.
We'll be as quick as we can. You're live. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. You're live. What's your thought?
Okay. So to Keldoj and the British egg, I don't know your name, sorry. What do you guys even find the concept weird of lolly in the first place? Because the way you guys talk about it, it seems like it's become so normalized to you that you don't even know like what it looks like to everybody else. Are you aware of how weird it looks to have lolly?
If I say that somebody that is caught with lolly on their computer and that like a consequence, that the consequence of that should be they should get therapy, do you think that indicates that I think it's normal?
Answer the question, or are you just going to keep doing what you've been doing the whole debate, which is like giving really weird answers to very simple questions? Is it weird? Yes or no? Do you think?
Yeah, it is weird.
Thank
I
you.
think that's pretty obvious based on my answers.
I feel like you guys could have covered so much more.
Dude, this guy's such a spurg. What the fuck? What a freak. Everyone thinks it's weird. Everyone says it's weird. No one who's engaged in this conversation is actually going, well, it's not weird. No one's saying it's not weird. Nobody's saying that.
More ground if you started doing this like from the beginning. So now that we've
pretty sure we joked all the time.
I said it was in my opening statement. I mean,
people just laughed. That's why people got mad because I thought it was more funny than horrifying.
Anyway, I'm not done. I still had more I was going to say. So now that we've established that at least it looks weird from the outside, why is it so difficult to engage with other people when they're making their?
Why are they so angry about lolly? The issue is that whenever you start talking about this, you get a bunch of child rape victims that come out and start projecting their trauma onto the world and getting really angry at everyone and very violent with everyone for talking about it. It literally is just the reality of talking about these things. You get a bunch of rape victims come out up on the internet who are projecting their trauma, spurging the fuck out whenever they hear it brought up. It's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. I'm putting an 80% chance this person been raped.
As far as like the points that they're making about the actual harm that it causes.
Okay, I think the reason is that we're just not necessarily sure how much harm it actually does cause. For example, one of my big issues when we bring up exposure to children is we bring up stuff like, I think, for example, was Kim Possible.
So drama when? Maybe we'll cover it. I don't know. It depends what the content's like tomorrow night, I guess.
What I find interesting there is that talks more to the weird way people have began gaining these fetishes for cartoon characters, which I believe probably relates to kids looking up their favourite, like whatever show, and then being exposed to these weird pornographic images. But that's not strictly lolly. That's the weird connection we have to this growth in groups like furries and things like that.
Lolly. It is not strictly lolly. That's correct. Good job. I'm proud of you. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about lolly. So I don't know why you're bringing
that is where it ended up going. That was
because you took it there because you can't actually talk about lolly. I don't know why.
No, I was giving Kim Possible as an example, so that's why I responded by talking about
her.
And the thing about lolly,
Kim Possible is really just like a side thing to a
broader the thing about lolly is a lot of it is based in these, like, I would guess you'd call them mo animes. They tend, I don't know, I don't really watch that stuff, but my understanding is they're like cute girls doing cute stuff and blah blah blah. Not really my scene, but
Fairy Queen multiple times throughout the debate have specifically said images of children getting raped, which is what the lolly is the purest form of lolly. I know that there's a lot of vagueness about like cartoons of different ages. If like how can you tell 17 and a 19-year-old apart? I get all that. We're talking about like Lolita lolly, like the child, like baby, like young kids in sexually compromising situations. So
okay, so let's
take this. But he's just muddied the water himself there. Because he's gone from images of children getting raped to just lolly, and he's saying these two are the same thing, but it's not, because lolly, while usually does have a sexual connotation, isn't necessarily kids being like raped. Like that would be an explicit depiction of a sex act, right? But that's not all lolly. So you've got to be like super specific. He himself is muddying the water here.
So let's make it clear. We're going to cut off any of this what's age and just go, okay, it looks like a 4-year-old, all right?
I want to let other people in this combo. I want to give it to
I think we are getting somewhere here.
I can give a concise answer here, and that's my concern is not that I think that lolly is like normal and like I think it is problematic, okay, and I don't think it's good. At the same time, I don't think it's the same thing or causes the same harm nearly anywhere to the degree of actual CP. And I don't think that lolly alone is enough evidence to accuse somebody of a serious crime. That's my thing. I don't think it's good. At the same time, we need to be able to understand that things are different levels of bad and not think in such black and white terms.
So, wait, I have a really quick question. Keldoj, do you think that if somebody says kids are hot, do you think that person is a pedophile?
Probably.
Okay, so if somebody is linking it to images of children getting raped, is it fair to call that person a pedophile or no?
I mean, a lolly is a depiction.
Yeah, a drawing of a child getting raped.
It's not real though.
It doesn't matter if it's real. You're getting off. If I fantasize day in and day out about like fucking babies, does that make me
about caller here? Because
Joe, no!
Important thing.
Joe, stop!
Malcolm, it's just going to be the same shit with
Joe, no!
I just want to answer that.
Dude, this guy's carrying your fucking panel.
A very clear answer where it's like, somebody says, I think kids are hot, pedophile. Somebody yoinks it to like an actual like depiction of a kid getting raped. God, I don't know, I got
because
lost.
I think there's a pretty significant difference. Hold on.
If I draw a picture of your mom and then I jack off to it, I'm attracted to your mom. It doesn't matter if it's a picture or not. Anyway, I do have to go to dinner, so see ya. Bye. I'm gonna fuck both your moms. Fuck you guys both.
Well, okay, so was that a child? Is that a child we just had on?
Oh, well, that's cool.
Okay, well, I think he was at least willing to give. I was getting there with a 4-year-old because then we can make it very clear and there's no ambiguity.
I don't necessarily. Now it is going to depend on what
Okay, I'm actually, I'm super done with this. I'm gonna be real, super done with this. I'm bored. This is not interesting enough anymore. It was good earlier when I had a lot to say about it, but I've said my piece. I talked through it. I said why their argument's fucking dog shit. I've said my argument about distribution. I feel like I've said everything I want to say. I feel like that's good enough. I feel like I'm done.